This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera this afternoon we've got Marcel, and we're so excited to be finally bringing you some images from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We did our best this morning, but unfortunately we had some technical problems. And like I said this morning, we were looking for lions. We've managed to find them this afternoon. This pride over here looks like 2 lionesses and 4 youngsters. See those 2 young males just resting in the shade of one of these big trees here in the late afternoon light. And before I continue, a special welcome to all of our younger viewers this afternoon, and a reminder that the first 45 minutes of drive is going to be dedicated to you. So please, parents, if your kiddies have any questions, please send them through to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Got how that one young male shaking his head, looking around for the rest of his family. Linda, I think it's a fantastic start too, and so happy that we're finally able to bring you some images from our part of the world. So see that young male just getting up and moving out of screen there. Like I said, there's 6 lions in this group, and there's that young male in screen there. There's an old lioness off to his right, and then the rest of them are kind of all scattered throughout this long grass, just resting after this hot day that we've had. And I'm pretty sure that as it gets later and as it gets a bit cooler, they'll start to get up and move around. So we're going to spend a bit more time with these lions to see if they get up to anything. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you across to Steve at Juma, who's managed to find a leopard cub.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all of you out there. We are indeed coming to you live from Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. And we have found the queen of Djuma. Her name is Thandi, and if we just give it a little bit of time, not too much time, we'll notice that she's got a little bundle of joy with her here. We've only had a brief glimpse of her, or him. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but there's obviously some debate. And well, my name is Steve. I'm joined by Alex Shapiro on camera, and we are very excited to have you with us. Now, Thandi is a very successful leopardess on Juma. She's been around for many years. She must be in her 13th, 14th year now. It's hard to keep up. And she's had a number of cubs. I spent my first entire year here on Juma with Thandi and her little princess at the moment, Tlamba, who is now an independent young leopardess. And she was born 100 yards or so from where we are sitting right now. So this drainage line is called the Mulwati drainage, Mulwati, and it runs from the northern sides of Juma all the way down through to Mala. It is a dry riverbed at the moment, although this year we had an enormous amount of rain. And last time I was here, we couldn't actually drive where we're sitting now. It was too wet and too muddy underfoot. But here she sits in the perfect leopard habitat, herself as well being born not so far from where we are, to Karula, who is one of the most famous leopards of the area. David, it is wonderful to be back. Thank you, sir, for the kind words. I am super stoked to see Thandi. When I was here on my last stint, we were trying to find her and cubs that we weren't sure if they were alive or not, and there were some sad stories, and now we find her with a little one. Now, if we're patient, which we are very patient, we are going to sit here as long as it takes. That little clump of vegetation just behind her, it's a beautiful little hideaway. The cub, when we approached, had a little look at us and just quickly skittered in there. But while we wait for her or him to show itself, let's send you a little bit north to andBeyond and Ngala with Nikki.
Oh, buffalo. So a warm welcome to all the kids from all over the world that's currently watching our live safaris. So we're currently at andBeyond in Ngala, and we just stopped at this beautiful waterhole. So I am Nikki, going to be your ranger for this afternoon, and with me on the camera is Owen. Thanks, Owen. Now, just to show you, there's quite a bit that's happening around this waterhole, but right there, just off to the middle of the screen, you'll notice there's a few waterbuck. How you can tell the difference between them, or know that it's a waterbuck in comparison to some of the other animals, is if you look, I think that one just there in the middle, you'll notice there's a very distinctive round ring around the bum. And you also notice that one that's feeding with his head quite close to the ground has horns, so that's the male, and the females are the ones without the horns. So that one just off to the right that's coming out into the sun. But if you look at them, they have a very strange shape, almost similar to deer. You'll see very like a lot of hair, like longish hair around the neck, and then a very roundish face as well. Oh, there's a little one just behind the mum. You can see very skittish. Still probably not too used to vehicles around, but I don't think it's us he's worried about, because you can see he's looking in the opposite direction. But whenever you look at the noses, especially that youngster, do you notice the black and a little bit of white around the white around the nose almost looks like the shape of a heart. So it's a beautiful antelope. There's another one that's going to move a bit closer. Now, of course, if you look at where they occur, the reason why they're called waterbuck is because they love water, and they're always found near water. So in a survival situation, because I know some of the kids, we've been doing quite a bit of survival in terms of how to make a fire. As we're doing a lot of the survival techniques and some of the survival things of making fire, how to make a rocket stove, one of the other things is if you need to find water and you're out in the African bush, one of the things you can do is you can follow something like a waterbuck. Because they're so water dependent, eventually they'll go back to the water to drink, and that's where you can also get some water. For now, we're going to send you across to Dylan at Tswalu Kalahari, and apparently he's looking at some interesting nests.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. Jandre, our trusty cameraman behind us here, and my name's Dylan, and we're going to take you on another awesome journey. We've got some really fun stuff this afternoon for you, so just stick with us. Welcome to our younger viewers, and we're going to show you something pretty cool now, but just be warned, it is a kind of a kill, but it's already taken place. But let's head over here and we're going to show you how awesome this is. Look at that. So we're standing underneath a tree with a big sociable weaver colony, and it's actually right at the end of the nesting season now. So there's still a couple of nestlings in these nests, with the fairly late rains we've had, but good rains. But a lot of these chicks will actually fall out the nest occasionally, or you could even get a thing like a Cape Cobra going into these nests, and then chicks kind of inadvertently fall out. And you've always got these little armored ground crickets waiting for any opportunity to seize for an easy meal. This chick's obviously been dead quite a while, so you know it wouldn't have been that the armored ground cricket actually killed it, but he's certainly scavenging on the remains of this. But how cool is that? Nothing in nature goes to waste, ever. Every now and again we're actually seeing this little fly that actually lands on it as well, so everyone's trying to get a little piece of that action there. But look at that, eh? And this is crazy. But how cool is it to see this as well? I mean, what we're watching here, and some may think it's a little bit gory or sad, but this is the circle of life in absolute action here. You know, there's adult chicks, adult birds that have bred, that laid eggs, chicks have been hatched, some have survived and they'll go on to create new nests and successive generations, others don't. But those ones that don't survive means that other ones, like this little almond ground cricket, and I see there's actually an ant walking around there somewhere on it now as well, that they actually get to go on and survive. So all of this is super, super, super important. So from this cool hunter-killer sighting, head over to Steve and he's got some cubs for you.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry that I'm speaking so quietly. I'm trying to contain my enthusiasm. Boys and girls, that is a 3-month-old cub, or something like that, somewhere around there. It's hard to tell you exactly. Mum's just walked around the corner. Which goes to show that she's quite relaxed with our presence to leave her cub just out and alone like that. She's going on the right there. Just up the little bit of the bank there. Alex, to the right.
Beautiful general game at Big Dam.
Sorry about my game drive radio. There we go. The little cub, even at this age, it wants to go and stalk Mum. The instincts that it has of slinking around. Look at it, it's going to go try to stalk Mum. Mum's gone around the corner. Oh, it's just a little fluff ball. Now, boys and girls, and for everybody else watching, if you've ever wondered what habituation is all about, we got Mum in front of us again. Alex just in the beautiful golden light there. Now, Mum's behavior is one of, cub's coming up behind. He's going to stalk and catch her. Mum's behavior is one of being very relaxed. If Mum was being aggressive and showing signs of being unhappy, the cub would respond to that. But because Mum is just sort of blasé and walking off, the cub realizes, okay, well, everything seems to be okay. I can just sort of sit here and watch these funny people in this funny vehicle just on top of the bank. Can you see that? There's the cub. Okay, so he keeps looking back going, Mum, are we not worried about those things over there? And well, we're not. Hello, Anya and Lily. You want to know if it's easy to tell? Well, it's not actually easy. The easiest way to tell is if you know the day that they were born, or at least the week, and then you can work it out. Now, there's some debate going on. I haven't been around for a few months, and we reckon that maybe this and another cub that was around were probably born 3 to 4 months ago. The exact date, though, I'm not sure. But the first week of a leopard's life, it's born and it has its eyes closed. And in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, first month, it is just tiny. It's not confined to den, does not move anywhere, absolutely anywhere. Up until the first 2 months, it's also very confined, and then between 2.5 months or so, it starts to be a little bit more mobile, like what's happening now. But this little fellow, or lady, I'm not sure what it is just yet, is somewhere between that 3 and 4 month mark. I'm not 100% certain. Did you see where they went, Alex? Still so chubby and wobbly indeed. Now, I reckon she's gone in over here. That tree over there, can you see that fallen over tree? That tree was the initial den site of her previous cub when I first started here over 2 years ago. So it goes to show that they like to pick very similar areas to do so. And there we go. She's gone into the same place. Okay, very good. Well, we're going to try to get you a better view of this leopardess and her cub. Oh, she's coming out. Let's just have one more moment, if you don't mind, Emma. Now, that is exactly where she had Tlalamba. Oh, did you see she gave us a little bit of a snarl? That is called the Tundi smile. Now, she's yawning. Here comes the cub. The cub is still curious. Can you see how it's like, Mom? Are you sure we can go closer to that thing over there? And the youngsters looking at Mum going, okay, well, Mum's relaxed. I can play now. And there we go. I'm going to get a good bottom lick. So the cub is definitely showing itself to be a little bit more of a leopard now. When they're babies, they're just these little bellies moving around on feet. The ears aren't really that defined, and they're very wobbly, and they don't really move very well. But this little one is probably able to climb small trees at the moment. It's definitely able to catch Mum's tail, which is the best game in the world. Let me just move up an inch there so we can see it. Sorry, Alex. Just an inch there. Tell me when you got it. There we go. Haley, definitely a Karula snarl. Well, I never met Karula. Well, I actually did. I forgot that I met her years ago, but I didn't remember. But I've known Thandi for 2.5 years, and she's very well known for showing that snarl, especially when she's got cubs, and especially when she's got meat as well. So it's just a respect thing. Got to realize that this is still a very, very wild animal. Although we are able to get right in there into their lives and film and document them, we still have to respect them and not go too close. And an animal that shows some form of sort of reaction to you is obviously you've done something wrong and you should avoid doing so. But when they're with cubs, they are a little bit more temperamental, as with any mom. Hello, Seth. Age 12, you want to know if a leopard cub would recognize its mom after it leaves? Yes, I'm almost certain. Cats are very, very, what's the word? Their smell is very good. So they recognize individuals who smell very, very well. And I'll never forget that smell. They'll never forget it. Looking at the tail. And so when they recognize or come across another one later on, they'll definitely recognize them. And female leopards actually will divvy up parts of their territory for their daughters. So their daughters will share their territory, and they have a mutual sort of respect for each other. But we see interaction with Thandi and her daughter Tlalamba very, very regularly. Can we go to the cub there? Sorry, the cub's going to get up and follow Mum in a second. And look, it's going, okay, Mum's leaving me. Where are you going, Mum? Are you sure I can go that way? See, the cub's still unsure. This is probably only the first couple weeks or so that the cub has seen vehicles. So it'll still sneak through the bushes to come around and join Mum wherever she's going to. But it's still uncertain of who we are. But if Mum maintains a relaxed sort of behavior with us, the cub will learn it too. That is what we call habituation. So if you're able to habituate an adult and she has cubs, it makes life very easy. Can you see just to the right, Alex? Just a little bit more right in the long grass there. Yes, in there. While we try to get you another view of this leopard, Tristan found them this morning, so let's go say good afternoon to him.
I did indeed, Steve, and I must be honest, I'm pretty jealous of you this afternoon. It's one of those things where you can't quite get enough of spending time with a little leopard cub, and so I'm glad for Steve that he's getting to see the leopard cub as well as Alex, both of which, Alex has been out here with us during the drought, so he will really be appreciating that little one, which is really good. So it's always nice to share with everybody else and make sure that everyone gets a sighting of things. But I must be honest, there's a tiny bit of me that is a little bit jealous. But don't tell Steve. Anyway, as Steve mentioned, my name's Tristan on camera. I've got BK. As you can see, we're looking at something that's, Thandi killed, which led us to her cub this morning in the form of impalas. Now, apparently, these impalas were alarm calling before we started our drive. Apparently, about half an hour ago, they were alarm calling. I think it's these guys. These are the only impalas I've found on this road. So I was just sitting with them, just trying to see if they've been kind of looking anywhere, if they started alarm calling again, or if there was any sort of sounds while I was here that could indicate another animal, that predator, basically. And so the thing is the reason why I was also quite curious to investigate this area is this morning we had tracks for a female leopard that went past our camp. Now, I'm 99% sure that those are not Tandi's tracks. Tandi wouldn't have come to our camp from the kill. Her tracks were all going up and down between the Mulawati and where her kill was. And so I think that this might be Kalamba that's moving around here. And maybe this is who they saw. It would make sense. This is an area that Kalamba absolutely loves. This section to the north of these impalas where apparently they were looking and shouting. And so I'm hoping that we can maybe find her. Wouldn't it be cool if we had Kalamba with by herself and milling around, and then Tandi with her little one? It would be such a nice kind of little family unit. In fact, it would even be better if we could get Kalamba with Tingana, and if we had Tingana, Kalamba, Tandi, and I've nicknamed this little cub Tigger because I just think this morning I took a photo of it and it was all four paws were up in the air. It's not its real name before everybody starts saying that that's what we've named it. It's not up to us to name them, but given that James is not around, I thought that I would take up his mantle and just give it a ridiculous name for now. Somebody said that we should have called it, what was it? Not Ned, or something, not Ned, Nelly or something like that. I don't know, I'll go find it just now. But anyway, it's called Tigger for now. But if we could have, imagine we had all four T's. No, not nearly Ned, it wasn't that, it was something else. Hold on, I'll find it now, Emma, while you guys watch these very, very cool impalas. It did make me laugh, though, I must be honest. I thought it was quite intelligent. No, of course, now I don't know where I've put it. Not Ned neither, that was it. So that one did make me giggle, and that was Erica. That's it, not Ned neither, but we're going to call him Tigger. And it is a boy, by the way, everybody. I most certainly have confirmed that it's a boy. For those of you that are a little bit unsure of whether it's a boy, how we tell a leopard boy or girl is I'll show you right now to be able to teach everybody, because obviously it's difficult for some people to see on our screens because sometimes they're moving around so much that it really makes it tricky. So what I've got is I took a photo of this little cub this morning running away from me and then zoomed it in. I know this is a bit of a weird angle of a leopard, but it's the only way to tell, I'm afraid. So in a little boy leopard, what you're going to get is you're going to get two little sort of yellowy gold, well, you know, little orbs, let's call them that for now, which in a girl wouldn't be there. So when you get these two little dots, well, little round sections over here, that's a boy, but because he's so little, they haven't unfortunately grown yet, and so it makes it a little harder to see. When they're still very, very young, it's much, much more trickier, but it is most definitely a little boy. So that's really cool. Nice to have a young boy on our area again. Okay, I'm going to carry on. Our impalas are very relaxed. They don't seem like they're worrying too much here. We look for some tracks. In the meantime, though, let's send you to andBeyond to Phinda with Damon and see how those lions are doing.
Hello and welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We are still with this pride of lions, and as you can see, they are still looking pretty comfortable in that lush, long green grass. See how this one closest to us is lying with its leg cocked up into the air? There's a gentle breeze blowing down the hill towards them. And just having a look at them, they've been walking around a little bit every now and then around us, and their bellies are all super, super, super fat. So the adult lionesses must have caught and killed something recently, and they've all feasted. And with that fat belly, just imagine all the blood rushing to the stomach to help digest the meat. And so there'll be a lot of heat building up there, and by lying with that leg cocked up like that, and that belly exposed to the wind, it'll help to keep them nice and cool. Now, just while we're here, this morning we didn't quite get to formally welcome you to Phinda Private Game Reserve in the way that I would have liked. So let's take a few minutes just while we're waiting with these lions sleeping and not doing too much. I promise if they move, we'll go back to them. I just want to show you on a map where we are in the world. So have a look over here. This is a map of South Africa. Over there is Ngala Private Game Reserve and Juma just below it. So that is the Greater Kruger area there. We are down here on the eastern coast of South Africa at Phinda Private Game Reserve. So just a little bit south of them and then much closer to the coast. Now, I'd also like to show you a map of the actual reserve that we're going to be driving across and showing you in the time to come. So here is a map of andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We are down here in the southern part of the reserve. See that red dot over there? That is andBeyond Phinda Mountain Lodge, where we drove out of this afternoon. And we're actually not far at all from the lodge. Maybe about a 5-minute drive, believe it or not. We can even see some of the lodge buildings in the distance behind us. I'll see if Marcel can find them for you. It's a bit tough to see now. There's just a few roofs sticking out. But anyway, for me, the most important thing about this map, and what I'm really looking forward to, as well as the other guides that are going to be working out of Phinda for the next foreseeable future, we're all looking forward to showing you the diversity that Phinda has to offer. And that all comes down to our diversity of habitats. Have a look at all the different colors here on the map. Each different color represents a different habitat type. And that's what makes us special here, is our diversity. See, there's the gray of the plains in the far south, and then there's this green where we are now, which is the mountainous woodland, and then up in the north, let's go back to... Sam, you're saying you can't get over how green it is? Sam, we are very lucky that we had a lot of good rains this year, and quite late in the season as well, and that's why the grass is still so lush and green. So I did say that we go back to the lions if they did something. It appears that one of the young sub-adults just flopped down on top of that lioness, who took exception to it, as you can imagine. That was that grunt that you heard. And she's now flopped back down again. Look at this youngster next to us. How it's lying with its leg. It looks like a rotisserie chicken. So we're going to stay with these lions, sleeping in their unusual positions. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you across to Nikki at Ngala, who's found some elephants.
So how amazing is that? I mean, I'm so glad Phinda is also one of the reserves that we can now visit with our live safaris, because it's such a beautiful place. And I think sometimes just talking about it does it a lot of injustice, because if you see those beautiful rolling hills and mountains, it's so beautiful. But on another hand, we found a whole herd of elephants in the Timbavachi River here at andBeyond Ngala. Now you'll see there's a little elephant that's feeding off, it looks like a buffalo thorn. And so that tree has horrible thorns on it. And just have a look at how carefully, let me just see if it's the same one, or maybe that elephant is picking something different. I think it's a different tree that it's picking, but look at how carefully it maneuvers its trunk amongst the branches, and then grabs hold of it, almost like you would do with your hand, and then pull it off, like catch it at the bottom of his trunk, and then put it into his mouth. Now, with that elephant not having tusks, so looking right there where the trunk is, where he's now, or he or she is now picking the leaves, it looks like there is a little hole next to the mouth, and I think this elephant is slow, probably within the next few months going to start showing tusks, but I think he's less than a year, or she is less than a year old. It's only 1 year old. Normally after a year they start showing tusks. But there's quite a few of them. Like, I mean, if we zoom out a little bit, see that elephant is on his, or her way back up to the rest of the herd. Look at that big herd. Oh, he's picking up pace, probably feeling like, Mom, please don't leave me behind. Heading to the rest of the herd, and there's quite a few of them. Have a look at that one in the middle, how they are having a little tussle with one another. You can just see them locking their tusks. And the other one just using that cool river sand just to flick on its back to cool down. Armand, with elephants, It all depends. I mean, if a tree is small enough, they'll eat the whole trunk, or the whole tree. If they can, they'll eat the roots, they'll strip the leaves, and they'll even eat and strip the outer bark. But what they're actually after is not the hardwood on the inside. They're after the outer bark. Because with a tree, most of the nutrients that goes from the roots all the way to the top of the tree and back again sits on the outer layer of the bark. So that's why if you strip the outer layer of a tree, then the whole tree would literally die. And that's actually what the elephants are after. So the hardwood, not so much, unless there's a lot of water content in it. In Botswana, I have seen before where, especially baobab trees, where an elephant will basically hollow it out to get to some of the pulp on the inside. But mainly they go for the outer layer of the bark, which is very nutritious to them. Such a beautiful scene in the riverbed, because it's hard to see because of the shadow there, but as some of them are flicking sand onto their bellies as well as onto their backs, you just see this fine mist of sand blowing from the elephants almost down into the river, because the wind's coming from them and actually going from our right to our left. See, these two, are they just sizing each other up? Often the young males tend to do that, because as they get a little bit older, they start building their confidence. They'll start sizing each other up, maybe pushing each other to measure their strength. And of course, if one loses, they'll just turn around and run away. Now, earlier on, we decided to go past the one water, because often this time of the year, with the water drying up, the elephants will start going to all the more permanent water sources. But then, of course, after a good drink, they'll start heading down to the river, because imagine now, with this dry riverbed, there's quite a lot of water under this. So with all the trees growing here, of course, there's a lot of trees, a lot of water, so the trees can really extract a lot of water and a lot of nutrients, so it's probably a lot sweeter in comparison to most of the dry areas. And that's also why the elephants are, and more lush, of course, and that's why these big herds of elephants would move into the river. So while we're going to enjoy these elephants, we might just try and see if we can get another glimpse of them from a different angle. But I think while we do that, let's send you across to Steve, who's also currently in a riverbed looking for leopard.
I have indeed. Thanks, Nikki. Well, riverbeds are wonderful habitats for many, many, many animals. And, as you can see, our leopardess with her cub uses this area for her den, a little leopard den. And last we saw, she went into that little bush. And we haven't seen her come out. So she's in there, and there's no view. But that's okay. And we've got some patience. We can sit here and wait a little while longer, see if maybe she comes out with the cub. You see, when it's warm, the leopards can just hide away a little bit, and what's possible that's happening is she's gone in there to feed her youngster some milk. So the little youngster's suckling. It's a nice, safe little place where no one can really stumble upon them, and they are pretty safe for the moment. And the den often is a very spiky bush, dense undergrowth where the youngster can hide in, and that's another reason why lions, especially when they have cubs, and leopards, the cubs have got spots to assist in the camouflage, helping them hide away there. It's a very interesting sort of idea, because out here in the bush to our right hand side is where our lion Pride had some cubs, and the leopardess has cubs just on the other side of that bit. So these areas are so important. We talk about habitat. Not everybody truly grasps what habitat really is. And habitat is a place where animals eat, sleep, and have their babies. So if you don't have these drainage lines, these sorts of thick areas along the river, lions and leopards they can't have their babies anywhere there, because they don't have those suitable areas. Even in places like the Masai Mara, when you've got those very wide open plains, the lions still go into those little small drainage river lines where they have their cubs. Hello, Anya and Lily, aged 9. Welcome to the show. You want to know how the leopard mum keeps her cubs safe? Well, it's very similar to that with lions, and it's very difficult, to be honest with you. The cubs, she will just leave them right there. Mum will turn around and look at the cubs and give them a look, normally a bit of a growl, and the cubs would know, okay, I'm not supposed to move. And those cubs will hide exactly where Mum left them until she comes back. And that can be a day, that can be 2 days, sometimes even more than that if Mum has gone far away for food. So it's one of those stories that leads to leopards and lions not having the most successful breeding strategies because of the fact that their cubs can be detected, especially by hyena, and they can be caught. So it is one of those things that, you know, those predators have just evolved to do that with their prey, with their babies, and it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's why we find with inexperienced mums, they don't quite know what's going on and they really struggle. Whereas with leopards that were born in an area and they were successfully reared in that area, like Thandi was born nearby here somewhere. Her mom had many more litters in the same area, and then Thandi decided, well, that area was successful for my mum.
My name is
and she gave it a bash, and
behind the
so
camera
far,
this
so
afternoon,
good. She's
we've got
been very
Marcel,
successful
and
over
we're
the
so
years
excited
with a number of
to
different
be-
litters of cubs. And, well, she's hopefully showing us once again exactly how it's done. One of the things she has to do, though, is one of these dens, after a couple of days, will start to smell. Just the movement of the leopard in and out will start to attract unwanted visitors, and so she will have to move. Initially pick them up in the mouth, but at this stage they're able to walk. Okay, well, we're going to send you back over to andBeyond and Ngala with Nikki, who's sitting in the drainage.
So one of the elephants just moved across to the opposite side of the bank. But you can see she's really enjoying quite a lot of the vegetation on that side. Look at how she's carefully grabbing some of those small branches just off the bank and then just putting it into her mouth. But very selectively. You can see she's, like, even though it's such a big elephant, they're so delicate with that trunk. The way that they can maneuver it and use it as quite a specific tool. Let's see if that elephant's going to move up onto the bank. Genevieve and Christian, very good question. Now, there's quite a lot of different theories about it, and I know there's a lot of studies been done on it, but apparently they estimate somewhere around 40,000 different muscles within an elephant trunk. And that's pretty amazing, and it doesn't even surprise me, because look at that elephant. If you can just have a look at how she's using that trunk. It's so specific. Now imagine that trunk is just muscle. There's no bones or anything in it. And the way that she can maneuver it, and even at the very tip of her trunk, she has, it looks like 2 fingers that she just grabs hold, and she can, apparently, this is what I've heard, is that they can actually pick up something as small as a rice grain with that trunk. It just shows you what they're capable of. So they can be very specific. They can take a few little leaves at a stage, but also if they need to grab a big branch, just have a look at how this elephant is trying to climb up that bank. I think at a stage she actually wedged her tusks into the ground to pull herself up. And I know Emma, one of our directors, reckons she can't even pick up a rice grain with her fingers. Sure. Apparently also, not even a nice delicious cake, because that's what she promised all the rangers, and we haven't gotten anything yet. Now, if you look at the color of this elephant, you'll notice that it looks like there's two colors. A bit of a brown, grayish color on the very top of the back, so a lighter color than the rest of the body. And of course, the gray around the belly and the back of the ears. Now, I can just imagine earlier on, with it warming up, they would have probably gone down to the water, drank some water, and then took some of the sand or possibly mud and just flicked it onto their or her back just to cool herself down. You can imagine a warm African day, high temperatures, very thick skin, so she needs to use her ears in order to cool herself down, but also just a bit of water, maybe some cool sand, and that's what we can see there. That's why it looks like she might have two different colors. What is interesting, though, is I'd love to show the viewers, there's a particular tree that this elephant is feeding on the ground. It's a small tree. But I'd really like, once we leave the sighting and we eventually find this tree, I would really love to show you this tree. Oh, she's just got some grass now. And show you something very interesting about it. But I'll do it once we can get a little sample. For now, just look at how she's taking that grass. And I can just imagine now with grass as well, near the river. So imagine all the nutrients, like on the side, let's say she's off to the left, the bank comes down towards the river. So all the water, whenever it rains, will then run down and all the nutrients will come down onto those banks. And so the grass there must probably be very sweet. And that's what attracted her, especially the trees and the grass there. So while we're going to see if we can possibly get another glimpse of the rest of the herd, we're going to send you across to andBeyond Phinda with Damon, who's looking at those lines.
Sweet looking grass indeed. Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We're still with these lions. They still haven't moved around too much. Still getting up, moving a pace or two, and then flopping down on top of each other. There's a couple of groans coming from the sub-adults. Often as they kind of lie on top of each other or rub against one another. Have a look at how close together they're all lying. Just shows their family bond within this pride. And see this sub-adult lying close to us, still with its leg up in the air, exposing that white belly and that soft tummy to the cooling breeze. I know Nikki was talking about how elephants keep cool. That's just what this young lion is doing right now, trying to cool her belly after the big meal that she's no doubt had. And look at how, remember at the start of drive, how we only had a few of the lions that were lying out in the open. Look at how now, I don't know if you've noticed, but suddenly they're all lying in shadow. And now that the sun is starting to dip behind the mountain to the west of us, these lions have all come out into the open. The sun is no longer an issue, it's no longer going to make them hot. And so they're taking advantage of this open area, the soft grass, and this cool breeze. Megan, you're saying it's a lion puddle. I suppose with them lying this flat and with their bellies being so fat, when they were walking it did look like their bellies had the consistency of water or jelly or something. Have a look at the lionesses furthest away from us, Marcel. I don't know if you can just show us at the back there and watch how their tails keep flicking up out of the grass. See that? See that little black tip of the tail? It looks almost like the end of a paintbrush. How it flicks up out of the grass. Oh, rolling over onto him. Following suit of one of her youngsters, also lying with her tummy exposed. But I was saying about that tail just flicking the flies away.
I think it must be awesome to have a tail.
Marcel was just saying that It must be pretty useful to have a tail to wave the pesky flies. But I don't know if you saw earlier, I was having to keep them out of my face as well. Look at that big paw up in the air. Jenna, it does look very comfy, and it certainly looks comfortable in amongst those lions. It's almost like something out of a fairy tale or a storybook. A beautiful glade of green grass. I imagine it's pretty cool as well. Oh, the lioness just popping her head up. So the flies really bugging them. Alright, so I don't think these lions are going to go anywhere anytime soon, just based on the fact that their bellies are still so full. So I think we're going to leave them now, and we're going to go off in search of a white rhino. And in the meantime, we're going to send you back across to Nikki, who is still with some elephants, busy feasting on grass.
So just want to say to all the kids, so we are we've gotten to the end of our kids show, but please stay tuned. There's quite a lot that's probably going to happen this afternoon. You just never know your luck in the bush. But please keep on sending those questions. I'd love to hear more. And also, from my side, I would like to know from the kids, remember every time we have our little session, we try and do a bit of a practical survival activity, or we can possibly look at doing some other fun activities for all the kids. But what I need you to do for me is I need a list of some of the things that you really want to know, especially survival in the African bush. And we'll try and see if we can get some videos or even try and do it for you so that you can be part of it. But I need to know from the kids, so send in those questions so we can definitely have a look at them. So just notice this little one. So he's actually trying to just maneuver the grass out of the way, probably to get to the sweeter grass, just down closer to the bank. And there has to be something delicious in that area, because that's where the first elephant that we saw earlier went to, and then afterwards he decided to go up onto the bank. Now, if we spend some time here, the rest of the herd is just off to our right, and eventually they might come and join on the side. Just notice with this mother how... Oh, sorry, I'm going to lean out of the way. There's actually another one that's walking across the riverbed. Fiona and Sophie, age 6 and 8. You know what? I always believed, I'll tell you my little experience. When I grew up as a kid, I always thought elephants could not climb a mountain. I do not know for what reason I thought that. Maybe because people said that they were such a big animal and so heavy that they won't be able to do it. However, that changed quite a few years ago. So when I finished school, I went across and I worked a little bit in Botswana in a place called the Tswalu Blocks, a beautiful reserve that's in the southeastern corner of Botswana that borders with a beautiful river called the Limpopo River. And I was doing a walk, and eventually I ended up at this mountain, and there was a steep mountain, probably at an angle of more than 45 degrees. So you can see this bank that we're looking at now in front with the elephants, so that's probably like a 45-degree bank that they can get up. And I saw a whole herd of elephants, and I didn't really think that the elephants would be able to climb that, because I thought, oh, if I had to encounter elephants, all I'll do is just go up the mountain. And that day I saw an elephant climbing a mountain that was more than 45 degrees. So almost like close to 51 degrees. I could not believe it. And eventually how that elephant came down, it started sliding down because it just took its back feet and it didn't really move. It just dragged its back feet as it was going down with its front feet, giving it a bit of support. Oh, and there's another elephant right in front of us in the river. So it's quite a nice example to use just to show you how big this river is going to be. So I'm going to ask you just to zoom out and then have a look in the middle of this river. So right there, you'll notice there's another elephant on its way. look at how wide this river is in comparison to that elephant. And I mean, that's a pretty big elephant, probably around, I would say, 3.5 tons, more or less. What would you say, Owen? It does look like possibly a teenager. Could be a young male around about like 13, maybe 12, 13 years old, just based on the tusk and the overall size. But we'll wait for them to come across now. I just want to refocus on this little one after that. That's just here on the side again. So basically, as these elephants start growing, especially the youngsters, they will imitate the mom. Penelope, I agree. This is just such a beautiful view. It's very hard to explain to people. I always try and just picture the exact scene that we're seeing here. But the smells even, so the wind now has turned and it's blowing from the elephants towards us. See, that little one is pushing that branch. I'm just hoping that that branch doesn't break on that little elephant. It's not a very good move to do. But you can see, like, what it's trying to do is it's trying to imitate the mom. So the mom is basically lifting up some of the branches and then grabbing quite a few of the leaves. And then the little one, of course, is just following at the back. And early on, like, took quite a bit of grass, but now it's trying to get to some of the leaves that mom got. But interesting to see how is this little elephant going to maneuver around that branch. Is he going to walk through or maybe around? So with an elephant's tail, so you can imagine, even though they have such a thick skin, they often get bothered by quite a bit of flies as well. So that tail really helps in order to, of course, swat any flies. You'll see now and then, especially on a day when there's not a lot of wind blowing, there's a lot of flies around them, and that tail just helps to get the flies away. And the other thing it also helps us with is communication. So often if an elephant is relaxed, it will it looks like the tail is wagging, but whenever they are aggressive or agitated, they often flare out their ears, pick up their head, and they curl their tail up. So that's a very good communication to us, but mainly for them, it's for the flies. And I mean, also it will, I mean, like it is a form of communication to us. I can only interpret it as a way that when elephants see that, especially if a big bull is moving into a herd and the matriarch doesn't want him there, and she starts flaring out her ears and picking up her tail or trying to intimidate, maybe with the predators, it's a sign of, or it's a way of communicating that she might be a little bit agitated with whatever might be there. And so have a look. See that little one, if you can zoom quite close to the mouth, so it's actually picked up a branch, but didn't know how to strip the bark off of it. So eventually just dropped it. So we're going to spend some more time with these elephants. If they decide to move off, we might carry on with our drive. But I think in the meantime, we're going to send you across to Steve at Juma, and apparently he might have some good news with the leopard.
Thanks, Nikki. Oh, aren't elephants just the best, especially when they've got little ones? Well, talking about little ones, we sat there for quite a long time staring into the bush, and we thought, well, let's just go out and just have a look. And we found Tandy's tracks exiting that area. We found a very fresh poo walking up the road. As soon as cats start walking, they're generally, dogs as well, if you've ever taken one for a walk on the beach, they generally, is that her there? You got her. Okay, we found her again. Very good. Now she is moving back towards the kill from this morning. So there is a hyena nearby. You can't really see her there. Let me reposition, Alex. There's a hyena nearby. Ruben's been here all morning. And we were wondering, Tristan was saying earlier to me that it's possible that Tandy would be bringing her cub to some meat soon. But I'm doubtful she'll bring it to one that's got a hyena on or nearby. It's quite a lot of risk involved. But there she is. Tell me when you're happy. So she did exactly what I was talking about before, about if she wants to go hunt She will give the cub a bit of a look. After, obviously, the cub's been fed an enormous amount of milk, she'll give it a look, like a little snarl, and then the cub will know it's got to stay put, and then mum moves off to go and do what it is mum needs to do. One of the things that's very important is to go and drink, eat, and to hunt. And obviously, if they've hunted already, as Thandi did last night or early this morning, she will then go back to a kill that she's obviously hoisted somewhere safe and secure from scavengers on the ground. And Thandi is probably the most experienced female leopards you'll come across. Alex, can I go back a touch for you there? That leaf is obviously just in the way. Hello, Genevieve. You want to know if leopards are asleep for a lot of the day? Well, they most certainly do sleep a lot. Lions do as well. And if they've got some food, they'll basically eat and sleep and eat and stand up to go and drink. Moments where they stand up to have a bit of a toilet break. But there's no need for them to do too much else once they've got food. And the food we're talking about is actually high up in the tree. I mean, probably just... Oh, there's a hyena. Have you got the hyena, Alex? I could see it a moment ago. Just through there. You can just see off to the right. There's a little bit brown in the middle. There's a hyena sitting just there. Her name is Ribbon. She's in the sun. And Thandi's probably approached this quite carefully. She doesn't want to get too close to a hyena. There's the kill in the tree just in the far reaches. You can probably just see a leg hanging to the left. Just see a leg a bit on the left there, Alex. There we go. There is a kill in the tree. Perfectly hoisted. Thandi is a very experienced leopard, and I've seen her hoist and catch many times over the time I've been here. She's passed on those traits to her daughter. Obviously, these things are things that leopards are very good at doing already, but the way that they climb, the way they hoist, the selectivity of prey is also very dependent. In the early stages, young leopards get a little bit too sort of eyes too big for their tummy, and they try to catch something that they can't for all their strength pull up a tree, and they're going to lose that. So you'll find Thandi always feeds on small animals such as duiker, steenbok, and small impala. She doesn't really go for the big ones. They're just too big and too strong and too heavy to pick up, and all of that requires energy, and that is another reason why these meat-eating animals have a lot of time sleeping. Lots of energy required to digest the amount of protein that they eat. So yes, they do. Lions can spend anywhere from 20 to 21 hours a day sleeping. But if they get hungry, they can be very busy indeed. Very, very busy indeed. But she's going to rest, and as soon as it cools down a bit, because that impala carcass that's up the tree is in the sun, as soon as it cools down a bit, she's done the hard work of walking all the way up the road, and she's now going to sit and wait a little bit longer until her hunger decides to overwhelm her, and then she'll climb up there and eat what is left of that impala at her leisure. In a moment, though, we'll try and get you a better position. We initially found her tracks coming up here, so we thought let's quickly zoom to the carcass, and we obviously bypassed her at some stage. She went to a small pan to drink, and we came through here and didn't see her, and then we went back, and then I followed the tracks all the way, and then we picked them up again, and we saw where she crossed the road. Wonderful, wonderful to track a leopard and find it. Also, it's very helpful if you know where they're going to. So, tracking a leopard to a kill or two cubs, obviously the leopard goes in and out, to and from, and obviously water, to and from water. So that is how Tristan found Thandi this morning. He picked up her tracks, followed her into the kill, and then she led him all the way to her den. So what a special morning he had. Special morning indeed. Okay, let's actually move around and see if we can get you a better view of the queen. Magnificent, isn't she? Well, it's my first day back after a long stint off. It's wonderful to be rewarded with a leopard cub. I spent the whole of November, December and January looking for Thandi's cubs, and I didn't find them. And yeah, my first day back. And just finds him in the morning. Very good. Well, let's quickly send you over to andBeyond and Ngala with Nikki and some ground hornbills.
So we just where those elephants were, we decided to go on a little bit on the road, and we found the southern ground hornbill. Now, it just looks like there's one by itself, but it'd be interesting to have a look at why it's sitting on that particular stump, because for them, their food is normally something like insects, possibly little small mammals, and also reptiles. Now, sometimes tree agamas. Oh, it just moved to that side of the tree. You know what? Just bear with me. I'm going to slowly move forward and see if we can get another glimpse from this side. Now, oh, there's actually one that landed on the top of the tree. Sorry, Owen, I'm just going back. So, there. I wonder if there might... Oh, I'm sure there's probably not a nest, but imagine if there's a nest up all the way on the top of the tree. Now, what I wanted to say is sometimes you get reptiles like a tree agama that might be living in one of those crevices, or maybe even any other possible. I think he just flew off to the right. Yeah, he's quite shy with the camera. He's one of those southern ground hornbills. Let me just go back a little bit. There, you should have a little gap in there. Oh, I think it's so hard to see. I think, you know what? Let's do this. Oh, and there's a road not too far away from here, so maybe there's a chance as we go along we might see some more than, or there could be more than one, because often, especially here, we do find more than one together. Just want to have a look there if I can see. Nope, not yet. I just see quite a few impala moving there. But let's carry on. I think we... Clara, I do agree. Don't they resemble something like a velociraptor? The modern day velociraptors. As a kid, I used to watch Jurassic Park nearly every single day. It was one of my favorites, dinosaurs. But they do have a very interesting look, very prehistoric look. I do agree. Just want to see if we can get another glimpse here. This is where I'm hoping for. If we don't get one here, then I think we're going to have to carry on with our drive. Owen, please tell me you've spotted. I think that southern ground hornbill has moved into an area where unfortunately we can't see it anymore. It's just moved into quite tall grass. I think for now, let's carry on with our search. So basically, just to give everyone an idea, what's our plan going to be for this afternoon? So there's a few open areas where I really want to go see if there's any chance of wild dogs or possibly cheetah. We haven't gone, or myself and Owen haven't gone into this area for quite a while, so we really want to go there, give it a good search, and if nothing, maybe go back to where those lions were this morning and see if we can find the whole pride again. But for now, I think let's focus on some of the open areas. It's still nice and warm, so lions will probably be sleeping now, so there's a good chance we'll... So we're going to carry on doing that. But then also, I haven't forgotten about the tree that I want to show everyone that the elephant fed upon a bit earlier. But I think while we do that, and look out for that tree and possibly those animals we were talking about earlier, we're going to send you across to Steve with that leopard.
Well, we have managed to find her. Yeah, she sits. We've moved around, should I say, not find her. Got a better view of her in the golden light, and she's had 2 yawns, she's sneezing a bit, and she's getting ready to climb the tree. And if you like what you're seeing, I'd love for you to support Tundi and the growth of a little cub. You see the link below for any help would be most welcome. Tundi, the queen of Juma. She needs no help bringing home dinner each night. Well, there's a tough world out there. And we are blessed that she finds her territory right here in the heart of Juma. She knows these areas, these drainage lines intimately. And, you know, we talk about the cycle of death and rebirth and life, and leopards catch meat, and, you know, sometimes it's quite hard to really think about, but you see Tundi with many duiker, many steenbok, but yet we see so many of those animals around, so it's a real natural selection. These individuals are naturally harvested out of the population, and the predator balance is always there. It's always there to balance the numbers. If you remove the predators, large or small, from the system, you'll see huge shifts in dynamic around the world. Wherever essentially man has influenced the system in some way and removed some form of the system, it spikes in any one direction, and that leads to huge knock-on effects that quite often aren't seen immediately, but later down the line leads to many, many, many different negative impacts on the environment. Even the removal of a smaller predator will change the cycle of medium-sized predators, change the cycle of rodents or birds that maybe were being kept in check. Spas, you could say biocontrol, you could also say selective hunting. It's kind of what they do. It's nature's way of thinning the crop. Predators will always select the easiest option. Obviously, sometimes they get a prime individual, but most of the time they're picking and looking for that individual that's young, weak, or old or infirm, and they selectively remove those individuals. It's a process called natural selection, where the strongest will survive. And the strongest will not only survive, but the strongest will breed. And if you influence that, take the predator out, for example, you're going to get weak individuals or deformed individuals or diseased individuals breeding. And the weaknesses that those animals have got will go through with them in the population, and will lead to their offspring carrying on traits that weren't naturally supposed to be there. They would have been naturally selected out of the population or the species altogether. But by naturally removing individuals, as hyena, wild dog, lion, leopard all do, you see only the strongest moving through, only those that have all the traits and the strength required to survive in a very, very dangerous world, having babies, and then only the strongest of those babies actually moving through and surviving to adulthood. And so the cycle continues. So it's a very interesting thing, and it's not a 2-year, 3-year cycle. It's 10 years, 15 years, 100 years that these animals are interacting with each other, and slight changes or deviations in that structure can really, really, really have very, very bad knock-on effects down the line in ways you wouldn't think. You know, an increase in certain herbivores will lead to an overgrazing or removal of certain tree species, because the trees, bear in mind, also have to have seeds and grow from seed. And if you have too many browsers, there'll be too many animals eating the small seeds. So you'll actually see a loss of specific species just because you removed a predator. Many times in the past I've spoken about the story of Yellowstone National Park. And Yellowstone National Park, over a period of 10-15 years, with the reintroduction of the wolf, which was endemic or indigenous to that area, they saw a change in the river movement. Now that might sound quite strange to all of you, but what was happening is that the wolves had been hunted out. There were no wolves, so the elk and the deer were eating inside the valleys, and they were removing the vegetation along the rivers and along the valley sort of lines, and so that influenced the birds. The birds weren't bringing the seeds, and the vegetation was being removed, and it wasn't buffering the rivers like it was, and also wasn't providing the trees that the beavers would use. And so then what they did is they then introduced the wolves, and within 10-15 years the wolves started hunting, and because the elk and deer were much more susceptible running up and down the valleys and much more easily caught in those valleys, they started selectively going elsewhere to protect them against predation. And so what you saw is that the vegetation along the rivers really, really grew back quickly. The birds moved back in, and seeds were reintroduced again, and trees were growing, and the beavers started obviously chopping trees again like they do, and building dams and changing the course, and only over a very short period of time. I mean, in our lifetime, 10, 15 years is a very short period of time. In evolutionary context, 10 years is very short. But they saw changes in the meandering of the river just by introducing a predator that you'd think has nothing to do with water. But anyway, talking about water, a place that doesn't get as much as we do, all the way over to the west, to Tswalu.
So yet another armoured ground cricket. But wait, that's not all. I'm just kidding. We've actually found something really cool, really exciting, and Jandra is actually going to pan across to it now. Two cheetah males. So one of our tracking teams actually picked these up earlier in the day, and they're still not going anywhere for a while yet. We haven't approached closer yet. Now we're sitting at about 100 yards from them. I'm just enjoying this beautiful light with the grass, the seed heads of this grass highlighted by that backlighting there. Very, very pretty. But we'll move closer a little bit later. I'm actually more inclined though to rather just keep our distance and wait for them to become active. I don't know when they hunted last or when they ate last, but there's a lot of game in this general area. You know, there's things like springbuck, there's impala, duiker steenbuck. We saw a herd of wildebeest earlier with a young wildebeest, with calves. So we'll just keep an eye on them, and hopefully there'll be some interesting interactions later. But while we're doing that, I think head over to Steve and see what they got on that side.
Yes, well, everybody, Tandy's moved towards the tree. She's just there on the left, and here's the hyena on the right. She just went down flat and started growling. Ruben came charging in at her. And that just goes to show the defense mechanism of these leopards. You'd think she would have just sprung up the tree to get away. But she'd rather keep eye contact, rather keep looking towards the hyena, and that defensive posture going down flat. The hyena can benefit nothing at all from attacking her. Obviously it could try and kill her, but it would incur a serious amount of injury. So there's always in a fraction of a second with these individuals, there's always a moment of thought, positive and negative reinforcement. By attacking her, am I going to get something out of it other than a smack on the nose and maybe a disembowelment? So they weigh that fact up very, very quickly, and then they decide, I'll rather just turn around. The hyena, of course, is waiting here for her to go up and to drop her impala carcass on the floor. That was a moment of excitement. It happened very quickly. I had to quickly pull you away from the cheetah in the Mara. In Tswalu. And all the way back here to see Tandy climbing, and the hyena then got very excited, as they do. Exactly, Megan. Ruben does have babies to look after as well, and she's hoping to scavenge something from Tandy here, but doubtful that she's going to get much from the meat in the tree there. Not a very big impala. Definitely will suit Tandy. Hello, Simon and Ngala. We were with her cub this morning. Okay, she's getting up again. We were with Tristan, found her this morning. There we go. See, she's doing the typical, can you see her? Typical Tandy snarl. Her intention is on the kill and on going up the tree, and I wouldn't be surprised if in a moment or two she just launches herself up. But Simon and Ngala, basically, Tristan found her this morning, tracked her to this kill, and then followed her, and she showed Tristan her cub. We started this afternoon with her and her cub. She then left her cub in the bush so discreetly that we didn't even see her leave. And we came to follow her, and we only found her. We didn't find the cub. She's now come up the hill, maybe 700, 800 meters. left her cub behind, and she's come to eat again. It's not going to be long though until she starts bringing her cub to a place like this, but it is a very dangerous place. A hyena wouldn't think twice about attacking a leopard cub in the open, so Tanya has to be very careful and only bring her cub to a kill that hasn't been found yet. Doesn't have a resident waiter hanger on underneath, and Ruben has been here since this morning. The patient waiting game. Yes, everybody, the cub's safe, I'm sure. We left her in the thicket. We were actually going to be pulling out to say we've had enough of that for the afternoon, let them do their thing in the bushes. And then we found Tundi's tracks on their own, on the road outside, followed by a very nice fresh bit of leopard poo. We didn't stop to see how fresh, but you could see it was steaming fresh. And then you always know leopard tracks going in direction towards water, towards the carcass. It's a very good chance you will find them again. That's often the easiest bit of tracking, is the ability to know a point of interest. You go to that point of interest and you will find them. Trying to follow a leopard track by track through the long grass is very difficult to do. So 50, she doesn't seem too grumpy, you're right, but her attention is on the hyena at the moment, and she definitely was giving Ruben a hairy eyeball and a full set of teeth. She's given us a couple little Tundi smiles, and for those of you who don't know what that means, Tundi's always had this ability to just sort of lift her front lip without you really needing to do anything. She just needs to remind you that she's there, she's in charge. It's not her being aggressive, per se. It's just her sort of reminding you that space is where it is, and it's something you see her doing a lot more when she's got cubs, even if she's not with them. I know you're going to go oversleep, are you? That is complete disinterest right there, everybody. Complete and utter disinterest. She's making a statement to the Ruben, who's the matriarch of the Juma clan, and saying, I'm not bothered with you. You can keep watching me here. I'm not going to climb. Bear in mind, everybody, these leopards and hyenas interact with each other pretty much every single night. They know each other, they know their smell, they probably know the look of each other as well, but I'm sure they go more for smell than they do for sight. And they know intimately who is who, and they have different behaviors to suit who's hanging out with who on a particular day. And Tandi, well, she's been around the block here for a very long time. No doubt she's encountered every single hyena countless times. Okay, well, I'm going to stay here with our spots. Let's see if she climbs up the tree. Meantime, back to Tswalu to catch up with Dylan and his cheetah.
So we went from spotted cats to a spotted cloven-hooved animal. That big bull giraffe feeding on that tree in the distance there. I don't know if the giraffe's aware of the cheetah's presence yet, but even if it was, it would be alert to them, but it certainly wouldn't consider them any kind of threat. Giraffe cows with small calves. The cheetah can pose a real threat to small giraffe. Not so much. I mean, I would be absolutely stunned if a female cheetah even tried to take a giraffe calf. I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but it'd probably be very unlikely. But coalitions of cheetah males absolutely. That's certainly within their prey range. It's interesting how frequently in terms of camouflage, the theme of spots. Shariah, you were reading my mind there. I don't know how you did that, because I was about to say that how the theme of spots runs through camouflage on so many different species, whether it's snakes or insects or mammals, or reptiles being snakes. And then you just said, it's like spots seem to be the theme for today. So well done on that. But it is quite remarkable. I mean, this how important or how effective spot pattern is in terms of breaking up the outline of animals. Very, very effective. I mean, if you look at lion cubs as well, even lion cubs and even sub-adults, you still see very, very distinct spots on the legs and on the fur, the belly. And the younger lion cubs are, the more blotchy they are. And cheetah cubs use a completely different strategy. They use mimicry. Well, the theory is that they use mimicry to actually avoid predations, because cheetah cubs, and if we're lucky enough to see really, really small ones, then you'll actually see they look, in many respects, very, very similar to honey badgers. And as we know, honey badgers have got this absolute reputation for fearlessness, bravery, and aggression, which in many cases is not entirely justified. But certainly the interesting thing there about cheetah cubs mimicking a honey badger in terms of appearance, that would imply that predators encounter honey badgers on a frequent enough basis and have negative encounters with them to be able to make that association with a cheetah cub looking like a honey badger and saying, well, actually, okay, I need to avoid that. And in most areas, certainly areas that I've worked, honey badgers are not at high densities. They cover very, very big areas. So then one sort of raises the question then of, well, what is the encounter rate of predators on honey badgers? And how much do they learn from those encounters? The dynamics in any ecosystem is so interesting, and there's so many aspects to it. Well, from one set of cats to another, let's send you over to Damien at Phinda with the lions.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've been out in search of some white rhinos, so we came down to this big waterhole. We found some marks of where the rhinos have been rolling around in the mud, but we also found this massive male lion. And of course, as soon as we go live, he turns away and looks back across the waterhole. Now, funny enough, the direction that he's looking in, as we arrived here, we saw a young male leopard slink over the back of that little rise there. And I wonder if perhaps he didn't maybe just hear a sound, or maybe that leopard stepped on a twig and that got his attention. But at the time, the lion didn't notice the leopard, and the leopard managed to get away. Again, just like those lionesses we were sitting with earlier, look at how his tail is flicking around. There's a lot of flies that are buzzing all around him, irritating him. Look at how dark he is compared to the lionesses that we saw a little bit earlier. And look at that beautiful black and red mane. See his chest heaving up and down. Just like the lion pride we saw earlier, he also seems to have had... Jenna, you're saying, wow, a big male lion? He is big. And I really hope that he stands up so that we can show all of you just how magnificent his mane is. He's a massive male in the prime of his life. So this mane of his stretches all the way down his back, in between his shoulders. So my apologies, everyone. Apparently there is a bit of a squeak to my microphone. My apologies. I hope it's not too distracting from this beautiful male lion lying here in front of us. Oh, shame. The guy is using his paw to try and wipe the flies away from his face. Those flies maybe going for his eyes, trying to get some of the moisture, or trying to get to the soft skin to break the skin and try and suck blood. And just like those lions we saw earlier, look at the spot that he's lying in. I don't know if Marcel can just zoom out a bit to show you how beautiful and open this waterhole is, where this male lion has positioned himself. And so for him, not only here, well, not only does he get a lovely breeze blowing onto him to keep himself cool, but he can also see all around him to see if there's any signs of potential danger, maybe a rival male approaching. But for now, he seems quite content just to lie here and rest. We're going to stick with him for a bit to see if he does get up. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you across to Steve, who's got a not-so-relaxed-looking leopard.
Our leopard is completely relaxed. She's just, you can just see a little bit of movement under that log now. We just made some space. Another vehicle has joined us in the sighting. We made some space so they could get a view, but there's no view really to be had. Basically, we need to wait for her to decide what she did. She'd made up her mind to go up the tree. You know, that decision that you make when you're quite full and lethargic and you've been sitting on the couch for very long and you decide to get up, to go somewhere, to do something, and something stops you halfway, and then you end up having to sit down again, and then the thought process that you have to go through once again to then continue what it was you initially wanted to do, that takes another few moments of consideration and contemplation and a couple more yawns perhaps before you do it. And bearing in mind, everybody, it's not the easiest of feats right there. You know, the mindset to be able to lurch herself up into the tree with her claws and pull herself up and all the way up onto that kill. That's a good 4.5, maybe, 4.5 meters off the ground, close to 5 meters. And there, if you look down the tree there, slowly you'll see there's a mark coming up where you'll actually see the claw marks in the tree. Have a look for it. There we go. You can see a little bit of you see the color shape or change there of where the claw has physically ripped into the tree. There's a couple of them actually. Now she would have done that with her own weight and the weight of the impala. There we go. Bottom sort of right of the screen, rightish. You can see those claws, and so hand over hand she has to pull herself up. Imagine trying to do that with your nails. Now everybody just take your nails if you can at the moment, just like attach them to whatever material you have nearby, a table or a chair or whatever, your leg, and just pull slightly with pressure on your nails. And now add the entire weight of your body to that, and then add the double weight of your body to that, and then pull yourself up a tree. That is what she's had to do. She had to pull an impala that's probably weighs more than her. It's a young male impala by the looks of it. A young male impala probably weighs equal to her. Well, she's not a very big female. But I don't know, Alex, if you can see those two birds over there on that tree. I've gone. Sorry, there was a couple little bee eaters that were sitting there. Love to bird while waiting for leopards to do stuff. They've moved off now. Georgia, the mindset that leopards have to go through, it is definitely something worth lots and lots of discussion. I definitely see it happen more in leopards because they're on their own. Oh, that bird's back again. If you want to try, Alex, can you see it just there on that branch outstretched? Outstretched on that branch just over there.
Oh, I see it there.
Okay, there we go. Alex has got it. Oh, it's got it again. Just wait there. It's going to come back. They do always come back. A little bird behavior called hawking. Little bee eaters often will sit on one perch, fly off, catch their insect and then fly back again. But the mindset that leopards go through, you often see them thinking about it. And many times as guides, we predict what lions and leopards are going to do, and guests are often so many times like, I can't believe you predicted that was going to happen. But it's all about intention, everybody. I mean, it's in human behavior as well. If you look at a friend or spend enough time with an individual, you start paying attention to their body language and the way their eyes are moving, darting to and fro on whatever it might be, and someone keeps looking at the TV, you know he wants to watch TV. It's very straightforward, isn't it? Someone keeps looking at the fridge or doing something with their body that indicates they might be hungry. These are things that we learn. Oh, there's a little crombeck. Oh my word, that is such a cool bird to see. I have tried the whole year to get that on camera, and Alex has just found him jumping onto this little buffalo thorn. How fantastic. That is the Ziziphus mucronata, the buffalo thorn. You can almost see the straight thorn and the hooked thorn together. And what this bird is doing right now, it's not the hawking behavior that the bee eaters do. This is called gleaning. This bird jumps in and through the branches of a tree, picking and plucking and looking for any insects that might be attached and camouflaged underneath or along the leaves, namely caterpillars, potentially grasshoppers, little beetles and bugs, all sorts of little things that might be sort of around. And you can tell many of the leaves, oh sorry, that was my leg slipping off the car, apologies Alex. You see many of the leaves have been slightly munched, which means there's been lots of insect attack. And so that bird is doing a service. Now you remove that bird from the system, and too many insects will feed on the leaves of trees, and we'll see big changes in their ecology as well. Well, Tristan's had an absolutely cracking morning. I wonder if he's going to be able to add anything to that this afternoon.
Well, we'll let pictures speak for themselves. Hello, Hook. So we've got Hook and Murray. We were on the trail of Tlalamba 2 earlier, and we had impala's alarm calling, we had birds alarm calling. Just got to the impalas, they stopped, couldn't find her, and then we got a report that he was coming this direction. And so we came into the area and just scratched around and managed to find him pretty quickly. It wasn't too difficult to find him. He walked on his normal route and is lying in his normal place that he likes to lie in this particular section. So it literally was not even a 5-minute track to find him, which was pretty simple. But you can see he's pretty flat at the moment. The good news, though, is that just beyond the thicket, between where he is and the sort of, what would you call it, eastern side, there's a nice big herd of impalas close by. And what I think he's doing is he's just sleeping and waiting and getting relaxed and taking it easy until it gets a bit darker. And once it gets a little bit darker, then I think we're going to start to see him potentially hunting that herd. He can hear the oxpeckers, he can hear the impalas, and so for him, as long as they're in hearing shot, he can just take it very, very easy and have a little bit of a rest. But what a epic day it's been. Like I say, a little leopard fiesta today, with Tandi and the little one, and now Hook. I'm pretty sure it was Tlalamba that we were following. We had female leopard tracks exactly where those impalas were alarm calling, so pretty sure it was her. Anyway, sounds like Tandi's about to climb the tree, so let's send you back across to Steve.
Well, indeed, well done, Tristan. You've had a day of days today, and well, you found her this morning. Her intention, everybody, looks pretty clear, doesn't it? What is her intention? She's just checking. The hyena's not going to bite her bottom as she tries to climb. There we go. She has one cursory look up. The hyena's back again. There's the standoff. Can you see the behavior? Leopard, hyena. So Tandi showed Ruben how aggressive she can be. Ruben pretended not to care, but then you saw when Tandi physically spat at her. Ribbon that is, decided to back away. Hyenas have that tendency when they're on their own to be quite skulky. She doesn't take Tundi on directly. She kind of looks at her sideways and pretends to be a bit nonchalant, not too interested, very disinterested in fact, but all she wants to do is climb the tree, and there you can see the intention. It's taken all this time to get back to that initial stage of climbing. And then Ribbon got involved again. Striped horse, it is a very... Oh, she's still growling. Still growling, Alex. Striped horse, who is afraid of who? They know each other intimately. If they got into a full-bloodied fight, either one could be injured so badly that they might not survive. Hyenas are incredibly powerful. Their biting force she's going to go. Their biting force could cripple Tundi, but Ribbon also knows that there's nothing to be gained by attacking Tundi. All that can be gained is a lot of blood. Okay, just have a listen, everybody. Well done. Now, when she's on her own without a kill in her mouth, she's able to do that slowly. But when she does it with the kill, she's got to physically pull herself up there. She does that first bit as a jump. You saw she did it now. She just sort of staggered up. Like many of us would struggle to do that on the ground, pulling ourselves along like that. And she just pulled herself up effortlessly. And with the kill, the pressure on your wrists and on your claws must be sensational. Yes, Tom, easy peasy indeed. It is how it's done. And you can actually see on the impala underneath, you can see how it's been dragged, how much grass is attached to the mid-region there. Yeah, exactly. This is positioning. This is where we want it to be for the light. And she's now up the tree. She's looking at the hyena going, yeah, see if you can climb like that. Thankfully, hyenas can't climb trees. Otherwise, this would be a whole different affair. But that's an evolutionary adaptation that these cats have done. Because the hyenas will always steal food if it's on the ground. What beautiful imagery. If that carcass was on the ground, Ribbon would be much more on the front foot. She would actually physically push Tundi around because there's a reward to be gained. But without a reward, no reward at all, it means that there's no point getting involved. All she's going to get from it is basically a bloodied nose, potentially a very bad injury. But if there's meat, the reward is the meat, and these animals are more willing to try or put their life on the line, or at least the injury on the line, for some reward. And that is why leopards hoist the kill, because they cannot afford to confront a hyena on the ground. They know if they don't have a kill, the hyena is very unlikely to attack them. Not like a lion. Lions are known to kill other predators just for the sake of it. Okay, she's prepping. I've been trying to look, and I haven't noticed how much of the meat has been fed upon, but now she's deliberately plucking and pulling the fur out. But make sure not to drop it, Tundi, because you've got a waiting ribbon underneath. It's talking about leopards. Tristan's having one of those days. Let's go back over to him with Hukumari.
Well, exactly. He does look a little bit on the crazy side, doesn't he? But he is giving us a show. We've heard him soar twice already. And it's interesting because the first leopard that I saw when I got back was a young, well, not a young male, but a male leopard from Buffelshoek area that we haven't seen on Juma before, who scent marked right here. And he's phlegm grimacing and sawing and scent marking everywhere. Sorry, BK, when you're shot. But he's about to just walk right past the car. Hello, Hook. Look at that. Oh, my boy. So cool to see. And he is salivating now even, so I think he's a little irritable that there's another boy that's been scent marking here. He literally went to the exact bush that the other one scent marked, and went and just kind of sniffed around, like I say, Fleming Grimace, and now he's salivating once he got there. Now it's going to be interesting to see what he does from here, whether he goes north up towards Buffelshoek or if he goes south deeper into Juma like he normally does. His normal route is southwards. You can hear the impalas are going crazy. I mean, he gave himself away. He just started sawing at them, and then they started to shout. So it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to go straight over the road. Yep. Oh, look at that light, though, on him. Absolutely beautiful. Go on your back legs. Go on your back legs. Come on. Now watch, he's going to push. Yes, that's so cool. I love it when they do that. So he's just scent marking. He's got glands in his face. So they stand up like that and they rub. It's quite a common thing to see with males particularly. See it quite often. I've seen him WildEarth a few times, and obviously him and Tingana too. But it was just that nice height that he was going to have to really reach up and almost hug it in order for it to work. So that was absolutely perfect. All right, let's keep up with him because he's going to lose us quickly in this block otherwise. He's pretty sure he's going to go. There's a little bit, I mean, we've spoken about this quite a lot over the last few weeks. There's a mud wallow not far from here. It just for him, really, and Shadulu. And we haven't had any luck yet. But it looks like that. Either that's where he's going to head towards Sydney's Dam. Let's hope he doesn't go Sydney. Sydney's Dam is not great. Come on, give us another saw, boy. He's going to go straight to that marula, I think, and scent mark. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Often prominent trees... No, he's not going to scent mark on that one. Often prominent trees form the basis of their sort of scent marking patrols. So they often go to big trees like that, but today not. I thought we had lined up perfectly there for him to go and scent mark on that beautiful tree with golden light. But it looks like he's going north. I think he's backtracking this male that's scent marked. The way that he's walking is more towards the north, which means we're not going to have him for that long, unfortunately, because the signal's going to get bad and he's going to go out of our area. But we'll try and keep with him as long as possible. Absolutely in my LMA. In fact, this week has been ridiculous. You know, I was thinking about it today, and we have had the most insane week. You know, to get 2 different lion kills in a week, both warthogs, to get Kuchava and Cub, Tundi and Cub, Hukamuri on a kill, Klalamba, now Hukamuri sawing. The only thing we're really missing is a mating event between our owls. But yeah, hyena den, elephants. It's been pretty full on this week. We've really lucked out. And I mean, this morning was, I suppose, for me, the icing on the cake. Just seeing that little cub is just such a special thing. So that was really kind of the highlight for me, and probably as good as it will get for my time here this time. But it really has been a good week. I mean, there's no ways that I can complain. I've literally had probably one of the better weeks I've had in a long time. I mean, it's, you know, like I say, we also had 3 different lion prides. And if you think about the space element that we're working in, you know, we've got basically 2,000 hectares, which is not a huge area in comparison to many of the other parts or many other traverse areas that other lodges potentially use. And to shove in as many leopards and as many lion sightings and, like I said, hyena den and buffalo and elephants really is a testament to what a magical little property Juma is. I mean, it's not just Juma as well. We have Simambili and Chitwa, and both of those have played really big roles in our luck this week. You know, they're the ones that kind of broke the drought in many respects, as we got Hukamuri on Simambili, Kuchava and the Cub on Chitwa, and since then it's just kind of rolled. You know, the Inkahumas were on Chitwa, and then everything's kind of been passing through Juma. So, but it is a magical little area. It's so funny because I speak to a lot of different guides, and everyone knows, you know, the central Sabi Sands, the western Sabi Sands, the southern Sabi Sands, but no one really gives much thought to the northern Sabi Sands. And it's interesting because having worked in the southern, central, and north, I can tell you that this particular area has some of the highest densities of particularly predator sightings out of any of the areas that I've worked in. And we really are fortunate. We have a huge number of leopards in this area, a lot of relaxed individuals, and that allows us to really have incredible game viewing. So we are very, very fortunate. We do see a lot of different things, and it's been a bumper week, that's for sure, you know. Like I say, sometimes, you know, we have quiet times, and I think what's been so nice about this stint is just that it's gone from quiet, and just slowly increased pace to the point now where we're just living our best life, and really getting lucky. Are you going to saw, boy? Sometimes when they drop their head like this, they start swaying. See how he's sniffing? Saw now, but he might scent mark there. Watch if he drops his back legs. There we go. Can you hear him scraping? And off he goes. Sometimes just after the scent mark, they saw. But no, he's not sawing now. We're going to carry on with him. We're going to catch up with him. In the meantime, though, we're going to cross Hari with Dylan. What an absolute bumper afternoon. Everyone's found something that they were wanting to look at this afternoon.
So the one male got up, had a good stretch and moved over to the other male and then lay down again. And then the other one rolled over, had a good stretch as well. But what we're seeing here is a little bit more life, which is really cool. It looks like they are not too full, which could mean that there's a chance, even if it's small, but there's a chance for a hunt later. Classic leopard posture, look at that. Little flick of a tail. I'm loving this light, this backlighting with those grass heads now sticking up. It doesn't seem like it, but they're actually lying on a nice bit of raised ground there, which helps give them a good vantage point of what's going on around. Out to the right, the giraffe has actually picked them up now. He's still he's very, very relaxed. He's kind of tucked away through the trees there, but he's now very, very much aware. See his legs, Chandra is zooming in there. But he's now very much aware of the presence of the cheetah. And as you can see, there, that's a great shot there. He's watching them, but he's not worried about them. And he'll carry on feeding shortly and move off. There's a nice breeze picking up here now. Very, very, very gentle. Sammy, please repeat that question. My comms broke up a little bit there. Sammy, that's an interesting concept there. I know a giraffe wouldn't be able to outrun a cheetah. But that being said, giraffe are remarkably fast on their feet. They look pretty ungainly, you know, these big-bodied, long-legged animals, but they can certainly cover ground at an impressive pace. And they are also well able to defend themselves. I mean, there's many, many, many cases of lion hunts or hunting attempts on giraffe that didn't go according to plan. And the giraffe they've got an incredibly strong kick. So any predator trying to go for a giraffe, you know, needs to know what it's up against. Ooh, I believe Tundi, the leopard that Steve has gone up a tree now, so go head over that way and have a look.
Well, she is indeed. She could be eating off of a giraffe's head right now if it was standing up straight. Let's give you some perspective. She's cleaned her impala quite thoroughly by plucking it. Now she's accessed into some meat. Using her carnassial shear now to cut and sever. I'm just going to let you have a few moments to listen to her feeding. Just bear in mind that this impala is long dead and forms part of the cycle of life. But if it is a bit gruesome for you, please do look away for a while. She is definitely going to need a toothpick after that. Okay, well, if you do have a belly full of food or it's a warm day, definitely good to go grab yourself a drink. Indeed, Steve, you're very, very, very right. If you have a belly full of food, a drink is always a winning thing to have, and Hukamuri has come to the little pan that I was hoping that we would eventually get him at. How many times have we checked this particular pan? And we've looked and we've looked, and eventually now we've managed to find, well, have a leopard at our pan. Hukamuri has obliged beautifully, and like I say, has just sat on this incredible spot and just kind of came and drank, and it's so pretty watching him walk around in the golden light this afternoon. He's been an absolute treat. Go on your back legs again. This one's a little bit low, so I don't think he will, but he's going to spray. Awesome. Oh, we are winning this afternoon. Well, in fact, the whole day today has been a win in many respects. Like I say, we managed to at least get a nice shot of him. What is the scent in scent marking, Derek? So, in leopards, the prominent scent that you're picking up is... Oh, scents, not as in scent. Ah. I was going to say to you that the chemical that we pick up in their scent mark is called 2AP, but anyway, the sense in scent marking is to basically tell all other leopards that are here that he is the dominant individual. And that means that rather than having to physically come to blows, remember that leopards have sharp teeth, sharp claws, and if you're going to fight with another leopard, you're going to get yourself into a situation where you could risk injury. And so scent marking and vocalizing is all part of Terry's set up in order to stop others coming through. You phlegm and grimacing, my boy. Is there another leopard in your territory? Yes, because you've been neglecting us. You're not allowed to go away so much, then you won't have another leopard in your area. But yes, so basically it's to set up a boundary that is chemical based, that stops other leopards coming in and challenging him, and him having to risk fighting those leopards in order to keep his territory. So anytime they have to fight is a major risk. Okay, I'm going to try and go around him because he's actually going to go to a really nice termite mound. I had him on the exact same termite mound with James the one time, when James
very funny drive that we once had. And, oh, you're coming this way. Sorry, boy, I thought you were going to go on your game path. Your game path, good. You can see his... I'm pretty sure he's good. He likes to sit on that particular mound, so pretty sure. There's another vehicle that's going to join us shortly. I'm just going to speak to them quickly. Yeah, guys, just go forward. He's going to go onto the termite mound in front, so just keep going on the road. So let's see if he actually goes up the mound today or if he just winds past it. Most of the time he goes on it, but today it looks like he might just go around it. It's a lot grassier than the last time he sat on it. The last time he sat on it, it was a nice open mound. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to do it. I've seen him twice on this particular mound, but today he's just going straight across, which is pretty cool. He's on his normal route. It's amazing how cats are creatures of habit, particularly this cat. He's going to go through here. There's going to be some termite mounds that he's going to go to where there's often warthogs that he's hunted a few times before, and then from there generally cuts kind of down towards the sort of central parts of Juma. So it's a pretty routine walking pattern. Finding him is pretty easy. If you know that he's crossed recently, you can almost bet that this is the game path he's going to take, those mud wallows where we first found him, and then you just follow. Like I say, you can see the 2-track here from how many times we've followed him through this particular area. So, you know, it's a creature of habit, like I say. Hopefully he doesn't grab a warthog, because otherwise it will be a really, really bad week for warthogs. Shame, not good. Okay, we're going to keep up with him. We're going to see where he gets to and what he gets up to. And while we do that, send you to andBeyond and Ngala with the lions.
So we came back to the riverbed and we found the pride exactly where they were this morning. But how ridiculous is the game being across all the different properties this afternoon? It is amazing. But we decided, like, while there's still a bit of a golden color in the air, that we'll come down to these lines and see if they're still here. And they haven't moved too far. Just have a look at how peaceful this male is lying down. Like earlier on, the one white female actually came and she played a little bit with his mane, but of course he didn't tolerate it too much and she eventually moved on. But then if we can have a look at this one right here, so that young white male is actually lying down in the middle there. I think most of them are getting a little bit more restless. I can just imagine being here the whole day. It won't be too long before they eventually get more and more restless and eventually from there on start moving. But have a look at the female that's laying down. You'll notice that in between her front legs there's quite a bit of blood. And that might have been from a kill from last night, maybe yesterday afternoon. But I do know, I said to the viewers this morning that I'll try and find out with the Ross males if they move to different types of pride. So originally they came from the far western side. So let me just quickly see if I can get a map of the area just to show you more or less. Alright, let me just open it up here. Sorry. Oh, here we go. Alright, so just to show you where we are currently at the moment is we are right over here in the river. Now originally the two Ross males came from what we call the western side of the reserve. So this side is west, this side is east, north is up here, and then south is down in this direction here. But so they were normally in the western side, and then they came all the way into this area right over here. So currently from what we know is they move here, so they'll have the Birmingham pride, the ones that we see here, and then the Birmingham breakaway pride. So the pride of lions that normally occur in this section right over here, that's where they move to. So based on our knowledge, there's only two prides of lions that they move across, and they have been seen and fathered. There are some of the youngsters that are right over here. But just to show you where they are lying down, so that's that one right in front of us here. and then just off. So all three of the males are here. So the two Ross males and then that young male. So the other Ross male is just lying down, probably 10 meters to the left of where this other one is. And then just behind him, and there's that young male. Jessica, I agree, it's so amazing to see this. I mean, for me, this is completely something completely new, seeing a young male being tolerated to that age within the pride. Normally at a year and a half, close to 2 years, they're already pushed out of the pride. But for them, or for this young male to be tolerated for that long, it's very interesting. And I wonder what's going to happen. I mean, it leaves us with a big question mark. We interpret, we think that we know this is what's going to happen, but the chances are it might not. He might eventually join up, form a coalition with these Ross males, or eventually they might move off and he could stick with the pride for a little bit longer, or eventually he'll go and move off and form his own little pride. And then have a look at that young white female in front of us. Now she, according to me, has the most beautiful eyes out of all these lions, and all of them are beautiful, but just look at her. You'll notice her eyes have this bit of a bluish tinge. I just want to grab my Swarovski binoculars and quickly have a look. So when I look at those eyes, it's like a green bluish color, and of course, like close to the very edges, there's a bit of a dark rim around. And of course, she also has even though she is one of the white lions, you'll notice that her coat is pretty dirty at the moment, but just under her eye, there's a little white patch, very distinctive for all the lions. And then even if you look at her eyes, now compare it against that young male, that young white male that's off to the right now. Let's see if we'll be able to have a look at the color of his eyes. But remember, she has like a bluish, greenish type eye, and his eyes are more of a yellow color. Let's see if he works with us. Where's he going to turn around? Oh, no, I think he's going. Gina, I agree. It's very much like an aqua. So it's very interesting where that young male went. He basically went and urinated on the other one's paw. But on that note, I think we're going to send you across to Steve. I didn't hear quite clearly the other name. It was breaking up, but I'm sure it's Steve with the leopard.
She does have gorgeous eyes. Tandy the beloved just went through a very dangerous move there of trying to move the impala. She's been feeding on it quite a bit. You can start seeing how loose the body is becoming. As it loses its muscle mass, the body starts folding around the log. It becomes more and more difficult for her to hold on to it. There's actually far more, now that she's moving it, missing than I initially thought when we got here. But this is where the experience of a leopardess or big male leopard comes into play. Youngsters very easily slip and drop their kill on the floor. And that's exactly what this hyena ribbon has been waiting for. She's been sitting at the bottom, picking up probably tiny slivers of meat that fall down, and anything that falls down, bone, whatever might slip out of it. And this act right now of trying to reposition the impala, very important thing. But if you've ever had to move a carcass before, and cutting meat off of it, it gets more and more unwieldy and slippery. You see it started to slip there, and if she drops it, it'll be gone. Ruben will grab it and be off in a flash. Exactly, and there is the opportunistic hyena. It won't even hit the ground. She'll probably catch it mid-air and be gone. So I've seen it many times with inexperienced leopards getting the kill up there, doing very well, and then it slips and it's gone. Galashka, H11, how do we tell our leopards apart? Well, it does take some practice, I'm not going to lie, but first things first is you've got to try and identify whether it's a male or female. See, there's some legs there that are very nearly going. There's only a 7-month-old impala. It's not going to end very well. But A female leopard is much smaller. The neck is very elegant and dainty, and they're not as big. So quite an elegant neck. And if we go to the back there, go to the underneath the tail, also you can see there, you notice there's no testicles, which is a very easy way to identify a male. Sometimes that's all you see when the leopard's walking away, is you see some testicles, and you know, okay, male leopard. So identify male or female. The male's got much thicker necks, females much thinner necks. And if you look at her belly now, her belly, oh, you keep doing your thing, Alex, that's it. Oh, Thandi, where are you going? This is a feat of strength and balance. It is a very nice tree. This is the quintessential sighting people come all over the world for. A leopard in a tree. Very, very special to see. She's now thinking, she's going to jump onto the other branch. Are you? You kind of start seeing her intention through her eyes. She's looking somewhere where she's going to be able to jam that animal. Be able to wrap its horns and its head around a branch and let the rest of it dangle. Right now where it sits, it's got nothing to hold on to, so very precarious. You see her eye contact directly across the branch, but the leg is caught. If she jumps now, it's going to pull out of her mouth and it's going to fall to the floor. Everybody's on their edge of their seat. BJ, this is an oh my word moment. She's decided to go back. She's unclasped the leg. Don't think she realizes it though. Okay, now she's going to do it again. She's going to turn around and go back. This is where experience pays off. Now, Thandi, you've got to get it over that little knob there. Oh, she's done it. Oh, good girl. Now that, everybody, is how it's done. It's not the first time doing. Now, can you see how the head is wrapping around? The body's going over another piece, and it works very, very well. Much better than over one branch. Over one branch, the body's got weight on either side, and the gravity just takes its toll, and it just pulls. But now it's over consecutive branches. The hyena is looking forlornly up the tree, going, "Oh, is it not coming? Why is it not falling? Please fall from the sky." You can see how much bigger she is than Thandi. She's far bigger. Acne Moose Ribbon is salivating. She thought it was coming. She thought she was dealing with a less experienced leopard that was going to drop it. She's probably thinking, going, I thought I could get it this time, but Thandi never drops her kills. Okay, very good. Well, Thandi has competed and completed a magnificent feat. And let's send you back over to Dylan in the Kalahari with his cheetah.
So we're still sitting with this cheetah. They're very, very relaxed. They're not going anywhere, but we're going to stick with them. But in the meantime, I've got some bad news for all the guests out there that knew Melanie. Jandra and I are very broken up about it. But we found Melanie. Well, we didn't. Two of our colleagues found Melanie, and the news was not good. Yeah. They located Melanie on a road, unfortunately. So it seems like she'd actually fallen off the vehicle. But we have a replacement. That is Mel Gibson. That was the second photo that came in. try. Okay. Thank you, Gina. We do agree we are horrible melon sitters, but we're going to make a concerted effort now. This one will not go astray. We're going to make sure of it. But anyway, back to the cheetah. Yeah, so these boys are still super relaxed, and this area is very, very good for hunting. Very open. There's a waterhole about a kilometer, half a kilometer behind us here. So I'm hoping if we stick long enough with them, the temperature's dropping beautifully now. So I think if we just bite the bullet a little bit, the light's going to get really, really good. And hopefully we're going to get some action here just now. So just stick with us, bear with us. Again, that patience is absolutely key to these things. And I'm also just so pleased from our side that the sightings that the other guides, my colleagues in the other reserves are having is just absolutely fantastic to hear that. Dizzy, I know that was hard for us too. But look on the bright side. Melanie's gone on to a good home. Lots of seeds there. So hopefully we're going to get tons and tons of Sama melon creepers growing from that location. And we're actually going to take some, we're going to try to cultivate some of those as well. So all's not lost. It's actually a very important food source. Sama melons for game as well as people in these arid areas. So while these cheetahs are doing what they do best for the moment, I think head back over to the lions at Ngala.
We just got one that got up and started moving closer to the rest, but you can see this one. Just a little sneeze. But so this one got a bit irritated with all the flies, so she decided to get up and move a little bit closer to the rest of the pride. So we want to see, we haven't seen the female with the young cubs around, and I wonder if she's still maybe in one of these drainage lines, just waiting, like slowly introducing them to the rest of the pride. But they are very, very relaxed. Just look at those right next to one another. But it's nice to be able to compare the different colors. I mean, look at how that young female, how much more white in color she is in comparison to the two just next to her. Have a look at this one here, and you see the young white male. So that one that's sitting upright, earlier on he was moving his tail, and it looked like that one tried to catch it. So you just see. Craig, that's a very good question. Like, I'm not too sure exactly. What I've noticed earlier on is that that lion actually was lying down with its chin in the sand. So I don't know, maybe it got a bit of sand up the nostrils and just that sneeze just to try and clear it out. But I'm sure that it, with particularly lions, it must be the same as we would sneeze. There's possibly an irritation in the nostrils. Just have a look at this male. But just look at the size. What I really wanted to point out with him is look at the size of his mouth. Like, I mean, he is a big lion, but look at that. If you look at the nostrils and the size of the mouth, it's more than half of the face. And I'm sure that if they had to stay, there's a good chance they will slowly start pushing them out. Because at the end of the day, it revolves around competition. Because the thing is, with these big males, if they stay with the pride, it puts a lot of pressure on the females in order to try and hunt. And that's why sometimes they would just carry on, and if they can, they'll try and shake this young male off so that he doesn't join with the pride. Because then, if they make a kill, I mean, him alone would probably eat close to 16, 17 kilograms at one go. So that's close to 30 pounds of meat in a go. And I mean, he is capable of eating more than that. And so with the two Ross males with them there's barely going to be any food for the rest of the pride. So I'm sure because of the competition, and also when he becomes more sexually mature, he'll probably try and mate with possibly even his mother, could be mating with his sister, and so because of that, they'll probably just try and push him out of the pride. So if they had to stay here constantly, that's most likely what's going to happen. But then again, we always ask the question, but I mean, until now, they haven't really, they've probably fought with him a few times in order to try and get him out, but I mean, until now, they're still tolerating him being this close to the pride. I think if he had to get a bit closer, and maybe even lie down in the middle of them, it could be another story, and they might just start challenging him then. But you can just see he is lying down in the outskirts of where the rest of the pride would be. So I think we'll spend a bit more time here, see if there's any changes. Maybe even see if there's an opportunity later for them to start moving. But while we do that, we're going to send you across to Steve with Tundi the Leopard.
She's definitely taking a break while she was. I've heard of down pillows. I've never heard of impala pillows, but we see it quite often here with our leopards. They tend to sleep on the carcass. She's positioned it so lovely now. You see the position of her legs wrapped around the branch. But it goes to show the opportunistic nature. Her mind, her eyes are still looking in the distance. Probably a couple of animals moving around that she's looking at and going, ooh, I could hoist another one. Look at that. That intention is very clear, isn't it? Now, we didn't finish our last discussion about how do we tell them apart. Now, the neck is quite slender. Oh, now she's moved her face. Tundi, why did you do that? Why did you do that? But there's whisker patterns on the face, which is a very good way of identifying leopards. It's a very common way of identifying them, but we've gotten so used to what they look like. We actually get to a point where we recognize our leopards very, very specifically by the way that they behave, and the way they look at you. Like Hukumuri, for example, that Tristan's with, he's got a one blind eye, and he's got scars all over himself. He's very characteristic, and he walks around with his tongue hanging out. Now, the Duke of Juma is a very big leopard. His skin's a little bit sort of droopy, but the general way, it's just a vehicle starting up in the sighting, moving out. I'm just going to move forward slightly, and we'll see if we can get her spot pattern on her face to try and compare and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Fiona, you want to know if leopards' coats differ depending where they live? Now, in my opinion, I'm not certain. I don't think leopards get shaggier depending on where they are, but obviously snow leopards have got much, they're a different species, but it's not going to help, is it, Alex? She's gone and hidden behind the branch, Fiona, so I'm going to get to your question in a second. But the coat, there might be slight changes in coloration, but the leopard Pantheropardus, there we go, Alex, you can probably get a nose now. Pantheropardus, which is this leopard, is the same species you find all over southern Africa and into the north. and there are slight changes, but their spots and the texture to the coat, in my opinion, from my experience, is the same. But every leopard has got unique spot pattern and spots on the body. Each of those rosettes is different. Let me see if we can get into her face there, Alex. Thanks, man. There we go. Can you see just behind her nose, there's a few spots there going in a line. Now, not the middle ones, but the ones on the top. There's two. So directly behind her nose, there's two spots, which is actually three spots, if you look closely. And on the other side, she's also got some spots there. So we talk about that as being a spot pattern, and her daughter has got the same spot pattern as her. But if you look at her left ear, look at how jaggedy her ear is. It's got notches in it. It's missing pieces. That's another way of identifying. So when you find Tlalamba for the first time, you often think, the first time you see her, you think, oh, this is Thandi. But she's a much younger version of Thandi. And her ears are clean, as I call it. They don't have the jagged edges. And also when you see Thandi, sometimes she's got suckle marks on her belly. So there's many characteristic features that you look out for. But I can tell you with certainty, many, many people misidentify leopards. Many of them do. And we've got quite a panel of experts that watch this show and have for many years, that have got screenshots of every leopard around, and some of them can identify our leopards walking away by the spot patterns on their bottom. So each is unique, and if you have the necessary sort of information with you, it's very easy to identify these cats. But we've learned just through experience each individual leopard, how full her belly is there. It's all squashed up. Okay, very good. Well, we're going to stay with Thandi, see if she gets up to anything from her perch. In the meantime, sending you once again back over to Tswalu.
We've had a little bit more action there. They've both raised their heads and done a bit of stretching. Again, very alert. Even the one lying down on the ground, you can see he's starting to flick his tail, his ear. And it was pointed out to me by a number of people that earlier I called them leopards, not cheetah. So even that one looked at me now. It's like, are you sure? Yeah. Becoming a lot more alert than they were even 15 minutes ago. So this is a good time for them now. Very good time for them now. Strike Force, Jandra and I were chatting about that. Typically every 3 to 4 days, and these cats actually ate 4 days ago now that we know of. So they are absolutely on the money for hunting this evening or this afternoon. But because they are capable of not just taking larger prey, they can take small things. They can take hares, spring hares, steenbuck, things like that. So it could even be that they catch very small items in between that could tide them over for longer. But at Tswalu, you're certainly looking at an average of about 3 to 4 days between kills. Predators are opportunists, and the thing to bear in mind there that even an animal, even a cat that is full, whether it's a lion, a leopard, a cheetah, a house cat, African wildcat, anything, even if they're full, if an opportunity presents itself that enables them to have at least a good chance at making a kill, they'll take it. So, oh, look at that magnificent lights on them. Soft, 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 beautiful backlight. Very alert now. It's almost like he's hearing something up there. They're definitely on the alert now, or at least the one is. It'd be really, really good to see them get up and move. what they'll do normally, get up, start stretching. There could be a little bit of social bonding, rubbing up on each other. Ghost Rider, Tswalu is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. And every single day I go out, and I've been doing this for 15 years, I go out and I keep saying the same thing about it. So yeah, it never wears thin. It's an incredibly special place. So let's head over to the leopards in Juma, which also don't get old.
Nothing gets old about this, everybody. Look at that. There's her pillow. Looks rather comfortable, doesn't it? Oh, she's got a bit of a wound on her leg. You see that, just the bottom right? That would be up in the middle. Up. There we go. Can you see that in the middle of the screen? A little bit of a cut. It's sort of on her forearm, as it were. If you had to sort of think about it, it's more like on the upper arm, under the upper arm. Those things happen, running through thickets and bushes, trying to catch animals. Leopards heal so quickly. You often find an animal like a leopard, lion, dogs licking themselves. That's the way of healing. Their saliva is full of enzymes and bacteria and microorganisms that are designed to heal and stitch together wounds. You can often see these animals recover from very, very bad looking wounds that they have. Many times people will say, can't we intervene and give them something? But nature's all about that. Nature's all about battling infection and surviving it, and battling disease and surviving it. That's how the survival of the fittest moves forward, as we discussed earlier on in our Tundi sighting. Right now she's done with discussion. Remember the sleeping she was doing on the floor? That was what she sort of envisioned the entire time. She'd been thinking about that while on the floor. You get those sort of bubbles over someone's head in a cartoon about what they're anticipating or they thought. That is what she saw an hour and a half ago. So back to her ID. She's got quite a dark face, and those marks under the eyes are also quite dark as far as Tundi is concerned. Other leopards we have around, all the viewers are saying, that face, isn't it a gorgeous face? Yes, it is. And when you've seen it enough times, you can see it once and you know immediately it's Tundi. But then obviously genetics are what they are, and her older daughter Kuchava is easily confused with Tundi. I've had many a guide in the area call in Tundi when it was actually Kuchava that they found. And myself having a fair bit of identification ability with these leopards, nowhere near as good as Tristan, of course. He's seen all of them. But it is very helpful. Many of the viewers, as I said, have got screenshots and ID kits, and very quickly do they come to the party. All of you know who you are. You come to the party, tell us exactly who's who, because it's nice to know for sure. You can tell that the light is starting to fade. This is the time of day you'd think. Here we go. Can you see the spots now? So if you take her nose to the right of where the nose cuts on the right there, you can only see two, but there's three. And on the other side there's also three, but you can't actually see it now. But that is what people generally go for identification. It's not a hard and fast answer, because we get many leopards will have a 3-3 pattern, but often what we go for as well, because these are very territorial animals, you're not going to find a female leopard in the territory of another unless it's a dispersing female. So if it's a young female, you can expect to find it quite far away, not very far away, but a little bit further away from her natal territory. She'll probably or most likely return, but a territorial female leopard will always stay in and around her territory, their territories being far smaller than that of males. Well, leopards are definitely easier to identify than individual lions. I wonder if Damon has got a handle on identifying his pride.
If they roar. Hello everyone and welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Have a look at what's just happened. We've been sitting with this big male lion and suddenly a second one has appeared from the bushes. Now these are the two dominant male lions of the south of andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. And dropped down. So Steve was just talking about trying to identify different kinds of, or different leopard individuals. And although it's now very tough to see, I don't know if you managed to just catch a glimpse of the male on the left-hand side. As his head hit the ground, you might have just been able to see his right eye. And he's got a big slit from what he's been in. Potentially with his brother over food, or potentially with another male over territory. And as I said, these are the two dominant males of the south of our reserve, the fathers of those subadults that we saw a little bit earlier. And this. Kerry, you're saying that it looks absolutely stunning. I completely agree with you, Kerry, and I got so excited when we came around the corner and saw this male lion earlier. It's one of my favorite creatures to spend time with. There's a big male lion, two even better. Look how they're lying with their backs together. Just shows the strong bond that these two males have. Two brothers that would have grown up in the same litter. So apparently my microphone is still a little bit squeaky. My apologies for that, everybody. But I hope that these male lions and their magnificence makes up for it a little bit. So see, this male on the right, just lifting his head, now resting with his chin on his chest. Almost looks like an old man resting with his chin on a big beard. And like I said, these are the two dominant males in this area, and they have an absolutely massive territory that sorry, am I just go again with that? I was just going to say, so these two big male lions that are going to be out on their territorial patrol tonight, and they'll have a lot of ground to cover to keep sure, or make sure, that there aren't any other male lions that are intruding into their territory. So a lot of you saying that they look very healthy and that their manes look big and full. Absolutely. Like I said earlier, these are two males in the prime of their life. Their manes growing long and thick, coming down over their shoulders, coming down under their bellies, and turning beautifully rich and black towards the ends. And early this morning, we were actually able to hear lions roaring off in the distance, and I wonder if it's not these same two males that were just coming to the end of their patrol for the evening and letting the world know that they are still out here, letting other male lions know to keep away. I think we're going to see if these male lions get up to anything further from here. If they don't, we're going to go and see what that pride of lions that we had earlier on is up to. But in the meantime, we'll send you across to even more lions at Ngala with Nikki.
So we just have this one Ross male, but it sounds like he is snoring. So I'm going to try and be quiet and hear if you can pick it up. Lol, I do agree with you. Like, if you look at his like lower jaw as well, you'll see the way that he's, every time he's snoring and he pulls in like quite a bit of air, you can just see the way that his nostrils and his mouth is moving. But so relaxed. I think after this we'll probably start heading on. I don't think he's going to go anywhere soon, but I'll try and just be quiet so you can hear all the ambient sounds. I think there's more than one now snoring. So this definitely reminds me a lot on, look at that. I agree. He is so, like, all of them are so, all the males are so fast asleep as we speak. And it just feels like there's absolutely nothing rushing them. Now this reminds me a lot on, so when I first started my nature conservation down in northern Natal, I shared a room with a guy that literally sounded like a helicopter when he was snoring. It was so inconsistent that I could never, like, properly fall asleep, especially if I went to bed after him. And these lines just reminded me of that noise. Also, and if you go a little bit right, look at how this one has just positioned her chin on top of the other one's back. A little bit more comfortable. So I think what we're going to do from here is we'll probably slowly start carrying on and see if there's maybe any other animals in the area. And I think while we do that, let's send you across to Steve with that leopard.
Yep, Sandy is rushing after the Z's is all she's doing. And I predict she's going to continue to remain like this until she gets uncomfortable enough to move. Or hunger starts to take over again and she decides to eat some more. Since repositioning the carcass as she's done, and we are in infrared, by the way, if you're wondering why the colours have changed so drastically. Those of you unaware, infrared allows us to film in almost complete, well, in dark conditions, complete dark conditions, where it's better for the animals. We can watch animals behave in their natural behaviour without lights. Sandy's not too bothered with much at the moment, but if she does get hungry she'll feed some more. And what I was saying is that the hyena decided, okay, well, Sandy's repositioned her carcass in a very, very clever manner, and they've worked out the maths and realized she's not going to be dropping it anytime soon. Where it was before, though, the probability was quite high. They were anticipating a little bit of a reward. Wonderful marula tree, one of the characteristic giants of this part of the world. Valkyrie, I think a cub could climb a tree. I don't know if it would be able to get up as high as Tandy is right now, but they are amazing little creatures, little cats, little baby cats as well. They really are able to climb, but as we all know, the famous adage of leopard or cats being caught up in trees, it's not the process of going up that's the difficult part, it's the getting down that is always a little bit more risky. So I reckon it could probably get up there, but maybe a bit too young to be going to the heights that Tandy's at right now. but not long. Not long until it's tearing around in that tree. They are very agile climbers. It's not just to get up and eat food that they need to climb. Their safety depends on it, and as soon as that cub can climb efficiently, it will be doing so as to avoid all the other competition that's lurking around on the ground. So while you are asleep up in a tree like that and comfortable, there's very little that can cause you any harm. Very good. Well, the light is fading, as we discussed before, but Tristan's getting one last look.
Well, we don't have Hukamuri. Unfortunately, we lost him. We were sent the wrong direction by someone who doesn't know the property and then didn't know where they were, and he's gone. But we do have a civet walking down the road, which is pretty cool. So maybe not a cat, but something that we certainly don't see very often at all. It's very far away, so I know it's not great quality. Is it a civet? It certainly looks civet. It was behaving like one. It was quite shy and skittish. That's why I'm so far away from it at the moment. Try and just help BK with a bit of light just to help the kind of view of it. Let's try and see if we can get a little bit closer. It's a long time since I last had a civet, so I'm going to try and see if we can just get a little bit closer to where it is, and that it'll let us. It's quite a big animal. You know, people think of civets as small creatures, but they're actually not. They're quite large, and funny enough, do form parts, it's definitely a civet, I can see the tracks on the road, do form parts of a leopard's food chain. So if Hukamuri, let's say hypothetically, would come along and would see that, he most definitely would try and hunt it. But isn't that cool? It's not a bad view of a civet. I mean, it seems fairly relaxed. I wonder if this is dam camp civet or camp civet, because we have a civet that runs around our camp all the time, and I wonder if maybe that's why it's so chilled with us, following it. Let's try and get a little bit closer while it's scent marks. It's always a good time when an animal's mid-poo. It's a good time to catch up with them because they can't get it up quick enough, and so they sit still, which is always a nice thing. So somebody's calling me on the radio. Johan, there's no luck. The guy's lost him. We don't know where he's gone. Let's just stop and just see. Maybe it comes back onto the road for us. Come on, little civet, on the road. Butterfly, they are big animals. Everyone always thinks that they're these tiny little things the size of a genet. They're not. They're big animals, but it is a big civet, that's for sure. It's cut off. Let's just try and see. Maybe we can get one view of it quickly if we just kind of get up this area. Unfortunately, you know, vehicles make noise, and so the chances are pretty slim that it's still here, but you never know. Maybe it just sits tight for us somewhere in this general vicinity. Once it gets into the grass, though, they are really difficult to spot. I can't see anything here. I think it is gone. That was awesome. Very, very cool. Linda, you saying it now for a last-minute honey badger? I mean, you know, why not? Why not throw it out there? I was going to say we would just throw out anything at this stage because it seems like our luck has been really good this week. So who knows? Okay, I'm going to just see if I'm going to do one little loop again for Hukamuri and see if I can find him. In the meantime, though, let's send you back to Tswalu Kalahari with their cheetah.
As it's getting cooler, we're seeing more and more activity now. The one got up and moved again, lay down, and then they were just stretching. They've been a lot of yawning. That's sweet, eh? Yes, that's cute. Big scary cat. And the moon's going to be quite bright tonight. It's just over half a moon, so they can actually hunt. Anushka, that's an interesting question. Why do they always have their tails tucked up, if I heard correctly? And that's probably just a temperature-related thing. When we arrived earlier, they actually had their tails, stretched out from the body, which would obviously help with reducing heat. But now, as it gets cooler, like a house cat or a dog, just with a tail wrapped around the side of the body, helps conserve body temperature. We seem to be missing all the activity here. As we go off and they get up and they do something. I think they've got their timing spot on here. Nature certainly has a sense of humor, especially when it comes to me. But with this moon that's just past full now, it's going to be quite bright, and they can actually hunt in the evenings now. And it should be bright enough tonight. There's no cloud cover, and that's where things like spring hares, even small antelope, they can be hunted at this time of the night. Sean, please repeat that. Sorry, I missed it. Bob, that's a very good play on words there. Sweeters, not cheetahs. The sweeter cheetah. Christy, absolutely. Cheetah males will groom each other to affirm their bond. That's a very, very, very important part of social bonding there. Any of that physical contact between them just helps, and there's different reasons for that. And I think one of the big things there is that just that transfer of scent, and then also that there's that, but then also the touch part is very, very important. Yeah, still good, still strong, still healthy. We win this together. That's very, very important. And then you get the other side of it, the hygiene aspect of it. They will be able to groom themselves after a kill, but they will also groom each other. So we're losing light here very rapidly now. But I see Steve has got a really good leopard sighting, so I think head over there.
Thanks, Dylan. Well, it has been an incredible afternoon of leopards for us here on Juma, that's for sure. Obviously, Tanya's not being as active as we'd like her to, but that's the way it works, everybody. You go on live safari, it's not like watching the documentaries on TV. It's all action, action, action. To be honest, though, we've had some wonderful moments today. Thandi and her cub, just talk about this afternoon. And Thandi standing off to a hyena twice, and then climbing the tree, and then repositioning her impala. In my opinion, there's some wonderful sightings. And just a glimpse into the life of this beautiful leopard. Alex is being very creative now, showing you her legs draped over the branch. Impala lifeless. Heavy breathing as the full belly pushes on the diaphragm, causes the breathing to look heavy because it's so shallow. And she's now tucked herself in as the temperature has dropped slightly. Her feet are giving off a bit of heat, and so does her nose. So by tucking in her nose like that, it's sort of that first thing you do as you start getting cold. You just tuck yourself in a bit. As soon as she starts getting a little bit colder, She's going to have to do something to warm up. The nose warm will be good. She's got one. It's called this impala. Although the body heat of this impala has long since dissipated and is slowly deteriorating with that of the atmospheric temperature around us. I've been down in the Hogsback Mountains the last few months where it's been a lot fresher than it is here where we stand. So I've come prepared for cold winter, and so far it has been pretty warm. That is low felt for you though. This part of the world is normally quite warm in comparison to other parts of the country. But the winters do get chilly here in comparison to the winters. Sorry, you broke up there a little bit, Emma. Matt wanted to know something about the cub. Matt, you know, the cubs do sleep alone often. You know, with small animals, babies, they go through sleeping and being awake, sleeping, being awake. So even if mum's away for a few hours, it probably has moments of sleeping while she's away. But, you know, as with all cats, they never really sleep very deeply. But it's possible she might feed a bit more and then go back to it. But you really don't know. You can't tell. Tandy's a very experienced mum, but she does leave cubs for a day, sometimes just for a few hours. It all depends on what's going on. She might be building up her attention or her energy, because going back to a cub, although we didn't see it earlier, cubs are, when they want milk, they get very demanding, and they don't leave mum alone. So she's catching up on some sleep, because when she goes down to see the cub, there's going to be no rest. As with any mom out there, you know, if you've got kids, when they're very, very small, and they have absolutely no consideration for your tiredness or your welfare, and it's all me, me, me. That's the same with little leopard and lion cubs. They want attention, they want to be groomed, they want to suckle, and then when mum wants a nap, they want to bite her on the ear and on the tail, and those teeth and the claws are very, very sharp. So the amount of times you've seen Tandy with her cubs, spending time with them, and how frustrated she gets with them, it is always an amazing thing to see. Anyway, we'll send you back up to Ngala with Nikki, who's left his lions, and no doubt he's heading home for some dinner.
So we left those lions. We are driving right next to the riverbed. The riverbed's off to our left, and we're trying to see maybe if there's a last chance of possibly finding a civet, serval, possibly maybe a chance of a leopard or a chameleon. We're looking hard for a chameleon, trying to see if we can find that, just to show everyone. But I think if we don't see anything pretty soon, we'll probably be back at the camp and not too long from now. But what an amazing afternoon. I mean, we were so lucky across all the beautiful reserves and concessions to see quite a lot this afternoon and also this morning. So I'm super excited. Oh, there was a little scrub here. Oh, let me just switch off the lights. I think he's right in front of the road, so I don't know if we'll be able to see him. Just want to make sure that he's right in front of us there. Yeah. Here he goes. He's probably just moving around, seeing if there's some green grass, probably in the middle of the area that we are. I think let's leave him be, because we don't want to shine any light or anything on him. Just want to keep my red filter on, so we don't fright the poor scrub here, and then we can carry on with our drive. So that's what we're going to try and look out for. I mean, he's also a nice treat to see in the evenings. And then, yeah, let's know tomorrow. So I think, so we're going to carry on. Tomorrow you'll be joined with Eric, so I'll be excited to see what he finds. But in the meantime, hopefully, Tristan can find us a last minute animal. So let's send you across to him. Hope everyone has a lovely evening.
No, not at this stage, unfortunately, Nikki. I feel like we've done all right today, though. Between 3 leopards and a civet, I think it's been a good out in the bush. I think we've managed all right. You know, finding the kill this morning and then the hook this afternoon certainly, I mean, it has made. I'm chuffed with my civet. I honestly think it's a really cool thing to see. It's not something we see often at all. I know it's not the greatest view of a civet. It's certainly not, you know, 10 out of 10 and not what we get from a leopard, but to see one going down the road like we did, and to, you know, for it to actually be as relaxed as it was really cool. So I'm really happy about that as well. I love those kind of things. I think those are the kind of things that when you come out on a safari, yes, the big animals are amazing, and it's cool to see leopards, and it's cool to see lions and elephants and buffalo, but those kind of things are special. And if you've been to the bush a lot, you'll start to appreciate those smaller things a lot more. Particularly, like I say, hard to find things like civets. I mean, the last time I saw a civet, I actually can't even remember the last civet that I saw on a drive or with guests. It's been a very long time. We used to have a nice relaxed one at Simambili that used to hang around very close to the lodge. It used to sit in a tree, and you'd come home at night, and you'd be able to come across, and you'd drive this fire break, and you'd find this tree, and then in the tree would be the civets, and it would just sit there, and it would lie on the tree and sleep, and then you just drive up to it like you would a normal leopard, as long as you stayed on the road. If you went off the road, then it would run away, but if you stayed on the road, then it would just sit, and it would stay right there, and you could watch it. And we saw it for a long time, countless sightings, and then unfortunately the lions chased it one day. I can't even remember which pride it was. I think it might have been the Nkuhumas, maybe, or it was the Birmingham males, one of the two, and they tried to kill it in the tree, and then it ran away, and we never saw it again. But I actually had the most incredible sighting with that particular civet. One day we were driving back, and we turned the corner, and there was a civet and a porcupine, which both of them are really cool nocturnal creatures and really epic colors on them. They've got those kind of black, silvers, and whites, and the two of them were face to face, and they were actually like touching noses, sniffing each other and smelling each other, and then they sort of had a little look, walked together side by side, and then separated, and off they went. But it was the most crazy sighting to see this porcupine and civet, and both animals much bigger than people think. So they were almost kind of on an even keel, the two of them, and they kind of like touched noses, figured out, okay, well, you're not my kind and you're not my kind, and then off they went, which was super cool. So civets are a great animal, that's for sure. All right, I'm going to head home. Like I say, I think we've had a good afternoon, a good day. Don't need to stress too much about finding anything else right now. And so while we head home, let's send you to Tswalu Kalahari so they can wrap things up for the evening.
So sometimes these long waits pay off, and it's always amazing seeing animals regardless of how big or how small they are. But of course there is always that anticipation of maybe seeing some action. So apart from their normal behavior of stretching and grooming and yawning and sleeping, they haven't done much. But it's still good just sitting with them, and yeah, that's where you start seeing all the fun stuff, and that's well, for me, fun at least anyway. You know, watching cheetah doing this is part of their behavior, part and parcel of what they do. A beautiful day out here. Well, we've had an amazing day with you, and I'm so glad that you could all join us. We all say good night until tomorrow, and Mel Gibson also says good night.